Salmon! Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Tuesday the 19th of October 2010. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp.
I've got the giggles.
Zachary Burgess.
Yes, I'm going to try and not laugh.
And Eddie Nye.
Hello.
How come?
We've all got the giggles here.
Rob's got a Burger King moment.
I think that's what we might have to call it. Could you explain that? Why do
Can
you
you
always
explain?
get giggles? Yeah, when you're at Burger King.
It's obviously something in the meat.
I don't know.
Sets Rob off.
Okay, yeah, I've hit a moment where I can talk again. Ah, good. Yeah, Burger
like
King
a
moments. That was just always a classic, wasn't it? When we always used to go to that land centre in Ipswich while it was still open, LGI, whatever it was called.
Oh, we played Counter-Strike all day.
Yeah,
all
and
night,
Battlefield
Friday
and things.
nights.
When before the internet was popular, and the
Well, at least for
the
online
upshot.
gaming.
Yeah, but
Before
the upshot
the
of it was we went to Burger King to finish the evening, and for some reason, because there was all of us there, we'd be eating our burgers and having a chat, and for some reason, something eminently hilarious would come into my head that wouldn't make sense to the rest of you, but just set me off for like 5 minutes of constant laughter, and that was a Burger King moment.
Okay.
Something in the meat, do you think? That sounds like a plot of the scheme of the Joker, doesn't it? Putting like laughing gas in the meat or something. Or
I don't think
not
it's a far
gas,
cry.
Laughing gas in the meat. That would be
yeah,
pretty weird.
injecting it.
It's not,
Killing cows with laughing gas. Hence
it's not a far cry to say that fat is funny. So maybe it's just bits of bacon or whatever and causing giggle reactions. Although normally it's fat on people that's funny, but you know, like Ian writes
people.
Fat Kids.
That's true.
That was a funny show. Unintentionally funny.
Sorry for all the trouble at the start of this week's podcast. Basically, I've had to take over the recording duties from Rob because his beef pooter, his old computer, seems to have gone a bit horribly wrong. So I've had to spend the last hour and a half or something trying to figure out all the recording stuff. So that's taken a while. So we may be a bit off kilter, but we'll get on track, shall we? Let's talk about computer games. Who goes first?
Here are enthusiasm.
You didn't all go woo.
Yeah.
We're just poised for our moment. You see, this is the collected and more organised approach to letting Dan finish speaking and then forgetting when to come in ourselves.
Okay, here we go. Well, we'll start with
Like that.
our guest, who is fast becoming a regular, Eddie. What have you been playing this week? Or
Yeah,
last week
I've
and a
been
half?
playing Super Street Fighter 4, as well as FIFA 11, because I'm into my sports games.
Is that new?
FIFA 11, yes, it's been out for a couple of weeks. I think.
Oh, cool. How is it?
We'll take it up to 11.
Well, previously I've been a Pro Evo fan for the last 10 years or so.
I had the last, I haven't played them, so I'm just conjecturing, but I hear the last couple of Pro Evos haven't actually really pushed anything.
No, it's gotten to the point where FIFA used to be the inferior brand, and it's because Pro Evo's probably gotten a bit lazy. They haven't improved much.
Well, it was like FIFA had the better sort of presentation and a better idea of what football should be, but at the same time, the Pro Evos were just better games to play.
Yeah, they were.
Even though the presentation was shocking and at times, and you
Well,
had to put up with all the J-pop in the menus.
They didn't have all the licenses, did they? Oh,
Yeah,
well, sometimes they did.
They still don't. They still don't have any licenses. Well,
But it
they
was
get
the
licensed
last-
from the clubs and not the.
Do they have to make up like
league,
footballers' names then, like Roy Rooney or something, or
Yeah.
or Woynie?
Yeah.
It's like sensible soccer or something.
Yeah.
Except not as good.
It's a way around the. It's a loophole around the
Or like
copyright.
Supercars 2.
Oh yeah. Nigel
The other
Mainsail
Yeah.
and Tiff
Was
Needle.
it-
Send up.
Wasn't it the last FIFA game, FIFA 10? Wasn't that the
Yes.
big leap forward? And this one's
Yes,
a kind of
that's
incremental improvement.
that's the defining game for FIFA, because before it's always known as the inferior one, but FIFA
Well,
10.
actually, like a long time ago, FIFA was really crap, and then like FIFA Road to the World Cup, which you had, Zach, which was 97, 98, because it was
98.
the 98 World Cup. Yeah, because that one,
That was
and
a
then
brilliant one.
they were really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
suddenly they
but-
kind of let fall, but that's like obviously 12 years ago now, so there was about time for another leap forward from FIFA. There.
That was a massive leap, because do you remember Total Soccer before that? That was it Total Soccer or something, or was it real
Actual
football?
Soccer.
Oh no, Actua Soccer. No, that's
That's
it.
it,
Yeah.
actual soccer.
With the hilarious.
Klinsmann. They just had like 3 different states of recorded sound for each name or whatever recorded by.
The commentary on that game was just so bad, though. The classic one that me and Zach always reference was when you could just walk up to the touchline, completely punt it out of play, and the commentator would just casually go, "Couldn't quite keep it in play."
That was a classic.
But FIFA 11.
Yes, FIFA 11. It's good. It took a bit of getting used to, because, like I said, I was a fan of the Pro Evo, but because it hasn't improved as much as I wanted it to, I've converted to FIFA this year.
So what puts it above the rest? What's the hook, per se? What makes you want to keep playing it, per se? Because this is the thing I struggle with some sports games, and equally some fighting games, in that it's hard to grasp that certain thing that makes you want to play it more. So what's special?
The online play is a lot better.
Okay.
The special thing about FIFA is that you don't necessarily control one team. You can control one player.
Yes, I've heard about this. Proper 11 on 11
Yes,
matches.
you can control from the goalkeeper to the striker, and you can play actual football in a virtual environment.
You see, that sounds cool to me. That
So
sounds
could
really-
you do like Halo matchmaking, like 5-a-side or whatever? You know, one-person, one-to-one control of each player, and then.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be a bit crazy to have 11 on 11. I mean, that would be quite.
You could
I'd
do
be
it.
like to-
yeah.
I suppose so.
Well, you can do it a number of ways. You can have 2-on-2 where each person controls like a player, and then it alternately switches, or you have like 8-on-2, or whatever tickles your fancy, really.
So you could have as many players as you wanted on
Yeah.
a team, and they can choose to... Didn't they have the options before, in previous FIFA games, where you could fix yourself to a player, and then the AI would take away the rest? So you could, in theory, have
Yeah.
like 8 players versus a single...
Yeah, but
with
it's the
fixed
first
players
time
against...
they've had 11 versus 11.
Yeah, that is cool, though. I kind of like the idea of it. I'm not sure I'd ever do it, but
No.
something kind of, like, just the fact that it exists, I think, is great.
Yeah. It's a good way to like make some friends online, and then
I mean, yeah, just think about the tournament possibilities for something like that. People that suddenly football fans that have no athletic ability could be part of a full-size team, and there's a certain awesome sort of camaraderie in that, really.
Well, the thing is, the reason why sports games appeal to people is they're passionate about the sport, and they know how the sport is played, and the things that they can't do in real life, they can do on game.
Yes.
And
Out of either lays or disability.
yes, or just
Mostly lays.
lacking ability. Like me, I'm a crap footballer, but I try.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just one of those things where in tournaments, the people that play it, most of them aren't like fat, lazy people. It's just like young, like people that are interested in sport. Although there are fat, lazy people, it isn't necessarily the case for.
I wonder if you'd have more or less chance to rise to the top of like a gaming footballing career compared to like a real footballing career. Because you think about it, like real footballing, okay, yeah, it's amazingly cutthroat. Lots of people want the job, but once you start going up, in theory, you can go all the way. Whereas in gaming, the main hurdle is there's probably 1 million more people than there are actually trying to that are of the same sort of level as you than there are sort of, you know, if you were a pretty good real footballer. So I wonder if it's actually harder to be a famous gamer.
In the career mode in FIFA 11, you can literally walk into the team and start playing, but you're not that good.
Oh, I didn't mean like in the context of the game's career mode, but sort of like in the context of if you were like a tournament player or something.
Well,
like,
Rob, to be honest,
rise to the top.
There's like you could probably name 20 famous footballers, and you won't be able to name a single famous computer game footballer, would you? I mean, I struggle to name
computer game. But well, I suppose you're right.
Easy to play, hard to master.
Yeah.
Rio Ferdinand is a hardcore gamer.
Exactly.
I'm not sure that's the right way round, but
yeah, he could play enough football to be be skillful enough to be internationally famous for playing football, and he still has time to be a hardcore gamer because he gets paid enough money that he can just spend all his off days like sitting around in his pants playing on his Xbox.
No, I read in a magazine a couple of years ago, and John Terry used to host like Pro Evo tournaments around his house every year.
Dude.
And it gets really competitive. Like,
do they like throw shoes at each other when they lose?
Apparently, it's a big party where they have like free TVs, and then they like hook up.
Oh, that's nothing. We did Halo LAN parties most weekends, and with like 8
this
Xboxes.
Is just no, it's the Chelsea team, so they're all really expensive, and they might be like wall-sized TVs.
Yeah, probably.
It's just you can tell like these games appeal to like footballers and.
To be honest, that's a pretty good sign that actual footballers find the games compelling.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty much equivalent to like actual guitar players in bands having like Guitar Hero in their tour bus. Like, it's not actually, at all transferable skills. It's just even like tactically, I don't think. I mean, if you play a bit of football or even just watch football, you probably know a few good things to put into practice in the game. But I don't think you could learn anything from playing FIFA that would help you play for Manchester United.
Well, I don't know. I wonder if you could like pick up, proper field positioning or man-to-man marking or that kind of stuff from the game.
Might be able to if you're an amateur, yeah.
Yeah. But if you're a pro, you probably wouldn't learn anything.
No, probably not.
So FIFA 10 was introduced, didn't it? I'm a bit of I haven't played it, but I heard that it boggles the mind that they didn't have this before. But it was the first time that you could actually sort of run and kick balls in directions other than sort of 8 directional.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't it? It was the first time it had 360 degrees.
Yes.
And that's incredible. Why didn't they do that 5 years ago or 10 years ago? I mean.
They didn't have
the foresight for it.
Well, no, but if you think analog control has been around since the N64,
exactly.
Why didn't they do it then? I suppose maybe there were animation constraints. Maybe it's only now that they're getting that good at making smooth transitions between angles and stuff. Because that's half the thing about the football game is that a good football game has no animation that looks out of place, not one. And that's FIFA true. Definitely excels at that and always has done. And it's
whereas Pro Evo, they're still doing the 8-directional thing.
Yeah, arcadey.
It just seems so strange to me. As like someone who doesn't play these games, as someone who doesn't play these games, it strikes me as really odd that every year they come up with a new flicky thing that you could do with the right stick to perform some kind of bicycle kick into the goal or something, but yet they don't change even to 16 directions, let alone the full thing. But they finally did it, and I'm glad because that actually made me want to play it. So I would consider playing, FIFA 11 because
it's a big step.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they were holding back until, maybe it was like an annoyingly commercial decision. It's like, we could introduce this as a big thing. We'll leave it as long as we can.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Although it's awfully cynical,
that's basically how the whole... Because there's only two big franchises in the football gaming, which is Pro Evo and FIFA. And it's been competing for more than 20 years. So.
I guess that's true.
Has it really been that long that Pro Evo has existed? Because I only really remember it from like PES 4 and stuff.
No, because before it was called Perfect 11.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in...
And it's still called Perfect 11, isn't it?
No, it's called Winning 11 now.
Oh, Winning 11, okay. It's no longer perfect, you see. No. This is a bad sign.
Yeah. Yes. But I remember playing the first time I ever played Perfect 11 was on the SNES. And you could score from the halfway line.
Sweet.
Every time.
How to cheat the game.
Yeah, how to cheat the game. That's how it worked on the SNES.
Punt it.
But it's been going on for quite a while, and it's always been FIFA versus...
I remember the early FIFAs, actually, and with their weird sort of isometric view and strangely hobbling animations. I don't know why, I seem to remember that. It looked like they all had some kind of disability and were like...
So, how are you finding the Super Street Fighter 4 then?
Well, me and Rob were playing it
earlier. We've been thrashing that out today. It was like, I haven't actually had a proper sort of combat scenario. I was only doing the training, but my God, do you need it in Street Fighter?
Yeah, you need a bit of training. Does it actually tell you anything?
It gives you sort of like a walkthrough of the move lists, but the more complex sort of mechanics and things you kind of have to work out for yourself. Right. It's very hardcore. I mean, it's about as hardcore as fighting games get, isn't it?
Yeah.
Street Fighter. I mean, it doesn't have the epic move lists of like Soul Calibur or Tekken and something, but it doesn't need it because it's just the timing required and the fun dexterity needed to pull off that game is immense. There's nothing else like it. Saying that, it did seem a tiny bit easier for me to pull off moves. It might be because I've done it before and it was and I might be getting a bit more used to it now. But
right.
I did find it mildly easier to pull off some of the moves in Super compared to the first one, which is a good thing because it means you can focus on not so much on trying to just do the move, but the strategy of doing the right move at the right time, which to me has always been the kind of I like fighting games where you're not struggling to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
it's the when you're doing badly because you mistimed something or you used the wrong move at the wrong time. I like fighting games that do that, which is why I quite like the Fight Night stuff, because it's quite easy to do the moves, but it's all about the timing and the response and stuff.
Yeah,
I love games. I really like games that focus on that rather than memorizing a million moves. But
the fighting game always does have that. Proper fighting games should have that twitchy aspect as well. It's just getting that mix right, isn't it? Because I think Fight Night is a different kind of game and a good kind of game. But, for that
Fight Night,
fighting,
you don't really need
mix,
skill.
You can thrash it.
You can just literally just button bash and...
That's true. Fight Night's the other extreme. It's kind of... It does suffer a little bit from you can mash your way through and do all right, but... Street Fighter is the type of game where it's balanced enough to the point where if you're good, there is no chance a button masher can take him down.
So Rob, did you
play?
Like quite a testament, really.
It's like Tekken. You can button bash and you can beat a pro probably.
Yeah, even in Soul Calibur you can do that to a point.
But if you play online on Super Street Fighter 4 against someone who's probably a pro.
Yeah,
and fights in tournaments, you have no chance of winning a single round, let alone taking off a little bit of life.
It's quite a common problem, actually, because Dead or Alive suffered from the spam problem, where often there were certain moves in the game that were far too difficult to block or counter, so people would just use them over and over again. So the people like me who are trying to... I make an effort to try and play properly in the sense that you mix up your moveset, you try different approaches and things like that. You'd often lose to the guy just going drop kick, drop kick, and it's like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, whereas Street Fighter, you never have a chance doing that.
So did you play Street Fighter 4 then, Rob? You said you played, or did you play
I have
2?
played normal Street Fighter 4, yeah.
Right, okay.
And Super Street Fighter 4 was essentially the sort of update version that for some reason had enough tweaks that it couldn't be done in DLC, apparently.
It's like effectively a Game of the Year edition, really.
Kinda.
Yeah, they've included more... how many characters? I think there's
quite a few more now. There's like 7 or 8.
And they're bringing out another 2.
In DLC.
Yeah.
So, what's different other than that, then?
The extra characters is just worth it.
They are pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Is that what's...
I mean, it's relatively... I mean, it's quite cheap now. I mean, you can pick up Super Street Fighter 4 for 20 quid.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which isn't bad. So it has dropped in price quite fast.
With these like Game of the Year editions, sometimes it's odd. Like, say, take Uncharted 2 for example. But I'm thinking of actually, I was looking at Fallout 3 had a Game of the Year edition, and like
with all the add-ons.
Well, that one's probably worth it, but like they're always like the Game of the Year edition will of course be full price, and then you can often find the original for way less, like way discounted if you're on the high street. Like it's something like £10 versus £40. You know, and it's sometimes a bit strange, you know. So I think if a Game of the Year edition comes out at least a tiny bit cheaper than a full price game, you know, because it is an old game, but it's got the added stuff. So I understand them putting it out again because it will boost sales, and I think it's great that people who haven't played Uncharted 2 get to play it with all the DLC for the multiplayer for free, for example.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I really want all that extra DLC for Fallout 3 because I don't want to have to spend all those Microsoft points on it. But on the other hand, that's like a 30 quid difference, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an obvious ploy to try and just extend the lifespan of a game, isn't it? Beyond even DLC, like the bundle pack with everything in it. And it does work because they've just done the Borderlands Game of the Year edition, which has bumped the price of the game back up to full price. And it's still doing quite well, so it does work from a marketing perspective.
Put up the level cap on that, haven't they, as well?
Indeed, because of the new DLC, the Robot Revolution, which isn't part of the Game of the Year edition, intriguingly.
Wow.
Isn't it? I'm sure it is.
Isn't? I thought it wasn't. I thought the Game of the Year edition only ran up to General Knox.
I saw like the advert for it on Steam, and it seemed to have it has the claptrap in the background. Wait, let me just click it and see. I shall observe. As soon as it lets me in, because I need to enter my date of birth because of blood. Gasp.
Blood? Oh, I hate having to enter my date of birth on Flash videos. It's the most annoying thing. If someone could solve that problem, I would be so happy, because every site has a slightly different dialogue, and the new one on joystick is the worst. What I always do is, obviously, you don't enter your date of birth. You enter the 1st of January 1900, or whatever you can fit in, whatever you can enter quick enough. But like the new joystick one, you can't scroll because you have to, the date one has the current year, 2010, and you have to scroll down to 1985 or down to whatever is below 18 years below the current year. But the new joystick one, the mouse wheel doesn't work on that scroll dialogue, so you have to find the little, scroll bar and pull it down to the 1920s and click.
Well, Game Trailers has that as well.
Oh, it's a bloody nightmare. Oh. They should just have. Can't they use cookies for that or something? I don't know. There's got to be something because it's not a deterrent for like children. It's just like why can't you just say yes and no? Because that's what they have on porn sites. I think it's because they know that it's not going to act as a deterrent, but it's a legal requirement. So it's there purely so they don't get sued. Yeah, but surely the legal requirement is like a yes/no. Are you over 18? Yes/no. I mean, surely that's enough for the legal requirement. You'd think.
Yeah, the problem is that they'd have to do that on site entry or something like that, and then most of the content doesn't require over 18 access. So
no, but I'm just saying
you're
they
right,
could
the
do
cookie
that for each video, couldn't they? They could just have yes/no instead of entering your date of birth, because that's the annoying thing.
I think
if it was just yes/no, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like the iPlayer or ITV.
Well, the iPlayer's fine as well.
Yeah.
iPlayer doesn't make you enter your date of birth, does it?
No, it just has a are you over 16 and you just press yes.
That's how it should be done. Yeah.
I think the fact that it is irritating is supposed to be the deterrent, if you see what I mean. That
what? Because 13-year-olds can't.
Resistant to irritation.
Well,
13-year-olds are the people with the patience to cope with bad web design. It's everyone else who's pissed off by it, you know.
I wonder if they're playing the limited attention span thing that that kids are supposed to get bored quickly. So if they make it irritating for them, they'll get bored and stop watching gory videos.
No, if you're 13-year-old and you want to watch like the heavy rain nude sequence, you're gonna go through anything to do that.
There's a nude sequence?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Of course there is.
That's awesome. Nude sequences in games are lame. Almost invariably. Like, what, Mass Effect? I don't know, Max Payne 2? What else has a nude?
Oh, well, the Mass Effect sequences were fairly stylishly done, really, because they didn't really show anything, so they didn't get controversial, other than the fact that it was woman on woman or woman on alien woman.
Well, they didn't get actually controversial, but of course they generated controversy for no reason because it's a computer game, didn't they? So it's like you fail at not generating controversy, but then maybe that was your plan all along, BioWare, wasn't it? Yeah. Woo, free
publicity for nothing. Yeah. You can shag aliens.
I don't know.
So back to the Borderlands thing that we initially
came
on the topic for.
Go ahead.
That Game of the Year does indeed have all 4 DLCs. Plus, you get a PDF map of Pandora. Woo!
Oh yes, you are right.
And
Sorry.
you get first access to the Duke Nukem Forever demo, basically.
Oh yes, I heard that because it's handled by Gearbox now.
Well, that's like the demo they showed at PAX, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's apparently quite short.
Apparently there was an error in Steam and anyone who downloaded any of the DLCs for Borderlands separately got that anyway.
Oh, yeah, I saw that pop up.
I have to say, I've got the most hilarious error thing happen the other day. It's a bit ridiculous because I've still only got that 20 gig hard disk that came with my Xbox 360. Okay, but I was on the front page of Reddit and I just happened to be there. And it was like, go on Xbox.com now and click this button and you get all of Fable 2 for free.
What?
So I did it, and now I've downloaded Fable 2. And they closed the whatever the bug was or whatever within about 20 minutes, but by that point I already had Fable 2. Unfortunately,
I saw a news page somewhere about that. Where it was
fuck?
I know, it was hilarious. It was like, it was the official Xbox site, and you sort of click this thing. It wasn't like a JIP or anything, and you clicked it, and it was like, add Fable 2 to download queue, and then I fired up the Xbox, and it started downloading it. And the only trouble is that if I want Fable 2 and to have Halo Reach installed, then I have to have pretty much nothing else on my hard disk, because that takes up everything. So. But still,
did that.
I actually don't have space to install games to my Xbox, so I'm a bit...
It's because they did that weird thing with Fable 2 where there was like the pre-DLC where you got like a little mini game, a bit like they did Dead Rising 2, where you get like a little mini demo version basically, but then you upgrade it to the full version. But with Fable 2 it had like a download option, so that's why the entire game existed on their servers basically. And that bug must have been an error in the access to that.
So they made some kind of mistake when they were putting up the little preview DLC for Fable 3, is that right? And that ended up meaning Fable 2 was available for everyone. Because I've got it and it works. I booted it up. So, although it was hilarious because I had so little space on my hard disk that when I installed the game to my hard disk, which was 7.2 gigs, and then when I booted it up, I didn't have enough hard disk space to save a file, a save game in Fable 2, so I was like, I have to quit out and delete something. Like, I had to delete some of my DLC and reinstall it again some other time, like Lost and Damned. That was like 5 gigs or something. I was like, delete. Anyway.
So have you had much chance to play it? Is it alright? Is it rubbish like I think it is?
I think it's going to be alright. But look forward to future... mini review of a very old game. I kind of just want to fiddle around and see what the dog's about, because it's like clearly with Fable 2 what happened was, well, what's clearly happened was that you know how Peter Molyneux always like overpromises and gets really obsessed with like things that don't really make good games, like with Black and White and all that stuff. Obviously, what happened with Fable 2 is the development team got together behind Peter Molyneux's back and said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to make a decent RPG, and we'll give him this dog bit to obsess over, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants with this dog, and we'll make a decent game. I think that's pretty much how they did that. Because they were like, he always overpromises everything, so we'll make a decent RPG, and he can have this dog thing to talk about. So yeah.
One thing that appeals to me from about Fable is that they've got so many good, well-known actors for the voice casting.
Yeah, well,
they got Stephen Fry and Zoe Wanamaker.
Well, Stephen Fry is a bit of a sellout at the moment when it comes to games after LBP came about.
And
but then you have
he's on the board of Norwich. What a bastard!
Well, at least he's doing his best to like remove the stigma against computer games. Not that there really is one, but in Britain there probably is more than in America. I would say to acting in computer games. I don't know.
I think it's the opposite. I think there's more of a stigma in America than there is in England.
Possibly. I mean, there is the cast of Fable 3 does have like. Not only does it have Zoe Wanamaker and Stephen Fry and all that, but it now has like Simon Pegg and all kinds of crazy.
It's got Malfoy from Harry Potter.
Oh, has it? Draco Malfoy. But my problem with the voice acting in Fable is that okay, you've got Zoe Wanamaker, you've got Stephen Fry and stuff, but everything else has the classic Lionhead / Peter Molyneux. Awful regional
Hello,
accents.
I'm an NPC. I'm here to guide you on your journey through this magical land of Fable.
And I think Americans think that's what it's like in Britain, some of them anyway, or in England.
We all talk like this and go down the pub for a pie.
I lightly. We ain't going nowhere till we've got some word. Grain. Oh, anyway. But
grain made by dropping sheep into a pile of grain.
That was so freaking genius. I don't think I ever
sheep
actually
got made of grain.
Did anyone get far enough to see what happened to that boat? Because it comes back, doesn't it?
I don't know. I think I heard... maybe I did get that far once, but I don't think I was paying attention enough at that point. I was like, oh god, I'm going to have to stop. Oh wait,
I always got pissed off with you lose your creature stuff, so I never actually got past that.
Yeah, like the second level.
It was the fourth level, I think, you lose your creature, but out of the 5, or something that there were.
Really? No, I think it was only the 3rd. It was like...
Yeah, it was early.
It was early,
was it? Oh, okay, I must have got past that bit then.
I think maybe the boat makes a comeback in Black and White 2 as well. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, I only played Black and White 2 like once, and I've already totally forgotten everything about it apart from how annoying it was.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be that, we don't have him messing everything up, let's make a decent game thing, but it didn't really work, did it? Because they realised that Black and White doesn't have a game in it.
Well,
really.
It would have been okay if they actually made the parts of the game work better. It was like you could build a city and that was fine, and then you could basically win by just building a giant city because it's like, as you improve the conditions in your city or whatever, the influence goes up, and you just get other cities nearby through the influence. But then of course there's the level where you can't do that, so you're totally fucked.
Yeah, which is exactly equivalent to the level where you don't get the creature, isn't it? Really, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, my problem in Black and White, I used to... You know the little signs that appeared above the granary that would tell you the needs of your people? Well, I didn't realise that... Well, the trick to Black and White is to know that you don't need to satisfy those needs all the time, and you can pretty much ignore them as long as they're not starving. But I didn't realise that, so I was, like, always constantly attending to those needs. And then you just get a huge population explosion, and then everyone sort of sits around on the grass outside doing nothing all day. Because you just keep building... farms, and like farms are these tiny fields, but for some reason they take like huge amounts of wood to build. Like they take more wood to build than like a huge hall or something. And then you just get all these people, and they're just sitting there, and they're not helping you expand your influence to the next settlement along. When the original game they didn't. I don't know how you're supposed to do that. Anyway, old games. So yeah,
they were weird.
So, Zach, what have you been playing this week?
Like everything, or the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Oh,
Zach has played them all.
played them all.
Yeah, I've been, well, I say everything, but it's more like everything I usually play, and then I've actually sort of expanded slightly into stuff that I haven't played recently.
Such as?
Like, well, I just literally have just this minute been playing Supreme Commander.
Oh, yeah. Well, the original.
Not Supreme Commander 2 or anything, because because Supreme Commander 1 put me off enough to not bother with 2, basically.
Is it not? Is it improved then? The sequel? Do we know?
I don't know. I should maybe look into that at some point. Maybe if I can find some kind of cheap copy of it. I have no idea if it's, what the price of it at this current moment is. I don't know what it, when it was released. I have no idea about it. I know nothing.
I always got
Supreme
confused
Commander
because
1 was like...
it's always referred to as Supcom 2, isn't it, for some reason? Nobody seems to call it Supreme Commander 2. So what the hell is Supcom?
Obviously.
Supcom? Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Supcom. But yeah, I've been playing that again slightly since like yesterday, and it's still kind of poopy.
Wouldn't you
It's not
rather
very
just go back
interesting.
and... Wouldn't you rather just play Total Annihilation at this point?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I've been thinking. It's like, man, I should... But then it's like, I was thinking, oh man, I could totally go and install Total Annihilation, and I've got, like, the expansion CDs backed up somewhere on an external hard disk and all this shit, and I'm like, hell yes, I could totally play Total Annihilation. It's like, yeah, but I bet it won't work very easily with Windows 7 or something. I bet I'll have some hassle. It's like, I might as well fucking play Supreme Commander.
Let's just put that on Steam. Whoever...
Well, it's already on
the rights to
the
TA.
other, what's it called? Good Old Games, that other download service.
Oh, yeah.
Where they basically fix old games to make them work under Windows 7.
So Good Old Games aren't free, are they?
No, it's
Right.
some kind of weird download service thing by old games. I don't know. Don't know much about that either, apart from people keep talking about it, so it's like, I picked up... Mainly they keep saying, oh fuck, Total Annihilation! It's like, yes, but I actually have a disc, if I can get that to work.
I always used to like the underdogs for like abandonware and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that used to be good until that got shut down. Bastard.
Yeah.
There is one that gives free stuff now. I can't remember what it was, because you can get... Well, you can get Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 just direct from Rockstar, but I think there's a service that offers it as well and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So okay, Supreme Commander.
Supreme Commander is still not very interesting. It's just like... well, the thing is, as usual, everything just takes forever, but maybe that's just the way I'm playing it, because the thing that I didn't remember about Supreme Commander until I started playing it again was like every 15 minutes or something, there's like your commanders or, your EarthCom, your guy who tells you stuff, comes up and says, Oi, why haven't you done this thing yet? It's like, shut up! I'll get to it in like half an hour.
Yeah, it's annoying when like games tell you stuff that you're trying to do. I mean, they should. This is kind of blanket for all game design, but if they should be able to tell if you're trying to do something and not bother you about doing it, you know?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen this webcomic where they were comparing games back in the day and games now.
Yeah.
So if you have like Super Mario Brothers, it's you just jump straight into the game and it's easy to pick up and you can just play it straight away. Whereas now, it gives you so many instructions that it kind of ruins the gameplay.
Well,
it's a
point of view,
press A to jump and then press B to run.
There's a certain element of certain types of games, isn't there, where figuring out the nuances of the controls, or not necessarily the controls, but how the game works is part of the charm. But
yeah,
there is a point, there is a limit to that. There does come a point where you need to know, otherwise you're at a disadvantage.
It's not even... It's like in Supcom, it's not even really instructional. Apart from... I don't know, I guess it feels like... Because it's like these messages come up seemingly constantly, but it's like... I think it's trying to train you into, like, doing things fast, as if to be training you for like the multiplayer in like the kind of rushing and getting your defenses up quickly so you don't get crushed. that kind of shit. But it's just really annoying because you can play it really slowly, and then like you get this same message like 6 goddamn times telling you to go and do an objective somewhere. It's like, shut up! I'm getting to it.
One thing I find it's sometimes it's just a distraction. You're trying to do something, and then a message pops up saying, "Why don't you do this?" And you're concentrating defending your own arm. But you ignore the message, you just close it and then you just carry on.
Yeah. I'm sure there have been a few games that have been known for their far too frequent pop-ups, and then you just close the message out, and then it's like, and you miss something important.
Yeah. One game that pops into mind is Ruse.
No. Well, we've sort of spoken about this on and off, and that it's supposed to... That basically the opinion of Ruse is that it's... some people think it is just god-awful slow to the point where it's literally boring. Or whereas the other side say, actually, we like the tone down of pace because it lets you think about the strategies that are oh so important to the game. And it really isn't that's in a battle of opinions, and unfortunately it's skewing review scores. But
I think I'm part of the latter because I like.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a turtler where it
comes
to RTS.
Yeah. It's kind of like Command and Conquer. One of the main criticisms is, well, just the main criticism of RTS is there's no strategy involved.
No, there's usually one good way to do things, and it usually involves Zerg Rush.
Yeah.
And
whoever can control the mouse and keyboard the quickest.
Yeah.
I know. There's
Whereas
obviously,
Ruse,
if you watch some of these, these StarCraft 2 replays, there's some crazy shit going on. There's obviously sometimes you can do weird stuff and sometimes. Like, I'm not saying you're always coming up with a new strategy, but there are obviously different strategies that can be employed besides Rush or Turtle, which is the old classic.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly nowadays it's evolved to a certain extent, I think. I don't know
evolved,
about Ruse though.
Ruse is better because you can do guerrilla warfare as well. You can hide people in woods and attack your tanks. Attack tanks from in woods, and you can't be attacked while you're hiding.
Essentially, you could be a right bastard and just sort of spring up on people and destroy their shit, and then disappear again. So they'll just be like, "What the fuck just happened?"
And you can also there's also like special abilities that you can command. Like, one of the main ruses is that you can send decoy armies. So if you hide your armies in the woods and then send decoy armies, they'll focus on attacking the decoys, and you can just keep on attacking.
Yeah. Or send some stealth dudes in round the back to steal their shit or whatever.
Yeah.
You just wish hiding in woods worked that well in World in Conflict.
Yeah, where it's just
like you hide infantry in the woods, and you get a couple of shots off. Maybe you destroy an entire column of tanks, but then you just know that in 30 seconds, that bit of forest you were standing in is going to get napalmed the shit out of.
Yeah. Playing infantry is just crippling, isn't it? Playing infantry in World in Conflict is just no fun, but it's the weakest part of the game.
Some people could do really.
Some people are good at it, but yeah, it's hard. It's probably like playing Spy in Team Fortress. It's probably hard but rewarding, but
couldn't they make it so that only infantry could capture points and things like that? I mean, I don't know, that might bugger up the game.
That would be weird,
but...
though, in World in Conflict.
Yeah,
because when it has infantry, as every class,
and because as soon as someone starts capping a point, there's the artillery strike is sure to arrive in about 4
yeah, that's
4
the other
seconds.
problem. Yeah. So you have to do the kind of precise dance where you drive your units onto the point and then wait 2 seconds, then back off, wait for the inevitable artillery strike, then drive on again, and then just repeat that, precisely moving out of the way of the fire. It's you have to kind of learn, or you park your units very precisely around the edge of the circle so stuff targeted in the middle doesn't hurt them as much.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting story. Back when I was in sixth form, I had a friend who was really good at Age of Empires 2. And he was so good, he never actually touched the mouse.
Whoa.
He played it just using his keyboard.
That's kind of pro.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Because they were alright games, weren't they? The Age of Empires series.
Well, up to 2.
Yeah.
It started going downhill.
Age of Empires 3 was crap.
Was it? Okay.
Age of Empires 3 was like... What was it? It was... Because it was like...
It was
it
in
had
America.
the engine of another game or something, didn't it? Where it looked exactly like... Oh, no. Was that...
No.
That
That
was
was
Empire Earth came
other way
out at
round.
the same time, and it was
Empire
a
Earth,
very similar
Empire Earth
game.
was the hella rip-off of Age of Empires.
Well, it was
Yeah.
the same team, wasn't it? Or they broke away from Microsoft or something, wasn't it? Empire Earth,
I don't know.
wasn't it?
That was as bad.
It was like 3D, except not really.
Well,
Wasn't
it was early 3D RTS, so it wasn't exactly
Yeah.
pretty, but it wasn't bad.
But it was still a poop game, really.
And there was that other game that took
Age of
everything and
Empires-
made it mental. Rise of Nations. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. What was the Age of Empires studio called? Because I know they went on to do Halo Wars, and then eventually got disbanded
Is it like Angels?
because Microsoft gave up on them, so killed it off.
Yeah. All units. Halo Wars. I played the demo of Halo Wars and it was already getting annoying that. Because you couldn't
Units.
when you were playing. Oh, you could. It wasn't on PC, was it? So you had to play on the 360, didn't you? Yeah, and you pretty much it was almost impossible to have fine-grained control of what units you had selected. So you pretty much ended up pressing the button that selected everything all the time and just piling them in. And when you pressed the button that selected everything, it said all units. So you just heard that constantly. All units. Oh dear, lame. No, multiplayer RTS is like one of the most nerve-wracking things. I can hop into deathmatch or anything and not be too bothered, but it makes me really nervous trying to, build up an attack, like a one-on-one, for example, RTS. I used to play CNC Generals with Barlow, and he'd just cane me every time using his incredible high-speed clicking abilities.
Or
He
his
always-
cheap tactics to do with jipping the tunnel entrances.
Yeah,
to
he'd
get
jip the
units in
tunnel
them.
entrances, yeah, because he used the GLA, and then he'd build about 1 million black markets, which just happened to be. I think it's just lucky because out of the 3 factions, that building, each of the 3 factions had a money making building, but that
And
was the
Black
best
Market
one.
was clearly the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the black market was amazing, and the allied one was the airdrop, which was really
Which was
lame.
terrible.
And also the
And
planes
China
got shot
had the
down.
hackers.
Yeah,
the
but you had to
hackers were
build.
pretty awesome as well.
You had to build the center, and then you had to build the hackers and put them into the center. And the black
Yeah.
markets were just a lot easier. And
The hackers could
he-
sit anywhere, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Once
yeah,
you
they
had
could,
the-
but
You got
they'd
bonus.
they'd be augmented by the center, and it was
And
a
they
bit
were
more.
easily killed.
There was a lot more clicking to do for the Chinese. They would probably gave you more money than the black markets, I think, but maybe not per unit area, because that's what it was. When you went over to his base, it was just full of black markets.
Solid.
And then he just had a fuck ton of bomb trucks all sort of gypped into one tunnel entrance, and then he'd build one of those tunnel entrances that burrows out of the ground right next to your base, and just a whole fleet of bomb trucks would just explode your entire base within about 5 seconds, and it was lame.
One of my tactics when I was playing Command and Conquer Tiberian. What was it?
Tiberium Sun?
No, is it Tiberian Wars?
Tiberium Wars was
it the
technically the
third
name
one?
of the first game, wasn't it? Tiberium Sun was...
No, that was Tiberium Dawn.
Oh,
was the
Tiberium
first
Dawn.
one.
Oh, Tiberium
I think
Wars, yeah,
Wars
it must have
was
been...
three.
Yeah,
six,
that's the third
three.
one.
Yeah.
The Command and Conquer 3. Yeah, one of my tactics was in the expansion pack. There was zone droppers, where you can basically drop your zone troopers anywhere on the map, as long as it's not in the
Fog of War.
fog of war. And I just used the satellite to give me
Yeah,
a
the
glimpse
train.
of their base, and then drop them in the middle, and then just bomb the hell out of the base.
Well, that's just like the old stupid thing from Tiberium Sun, the burrowing APCs, where you just
Yeah.
have a burrowing APC as Lord, fill it with engineers, come up in the middle of their base and steal all their buildings.
Yeah, because originally in Command and Conquer, an engineer could steal an enemy building just from full health, couldn't it? In
Yeah.
one. So you could just walk an engine. If you managed to get an engineer into the enemy base, no matter how dodgily, you could just take an APC full of even an ordinary one before the burrowing. If you managed to actually get it past their obelisks of light or whatever, you could just you just take everything and sell it immediately before they blew it up. It was pretty good tactic.
But the good thing about those games is that it's great for multiplayer. But if you're just one-on-one, then it's just really cheap tactics, and it's not really the way to go when you're playing one-on-one.
What, you mean multiplayer like 4 people on
like,
or something?
Well, when I played Command & Conquer 3 in uni, it was literally 8-player free-for-all.
How big is the map for 8 RTS players?
It's quite big.
Yeah, they are quite big. CNC3 is actually a very good game for quite large numbers of players in an RTS game. I've done it once before, and it was actually it's probably the most fun I've had in a multiplayer RTS, actually, CNC3.
Oh, okay.
Because, I don't know, Generals had...
Modern World in Conflict.
I play Generals multiplayer as well.
Actually, no, you're probably right. World in Conflict does still win it, but of that type of game, with the sort of base building style,
resource gathering style.
Yeah. CNC3 was actually pretty good, because it meant I could play in my normal style, which is a fairly slow-paced fashion.
Yeah.
While the other players basically dossed around of each other, and then sort of join in halfway through at my own pace and still be in a competitive position. Yeah. The balance was good enough that I could play in my own style, and I liked that.
Oh, it's just as long as you don't get rushed. It's like as long as they decide to go and attack someone else first.
Basically, yeah, that was the trouble.
There'll always be one person who decides to rush it.
Yeah.
And you just ask a friend to help you out.
It still strikes me that, RTS games,
screw.
not World in Conflict, but, those classic RTS-style games, it strikes me that, more than 2 players is fun and everything, but it's not quite how it should be. Like Magic the Gathering or something, it's you can play with 8 players, but really it should be 1-on-1, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Whereas RTS is the opposite, and more players, the better.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I agree with it.
Yeah.
It's more unpredictable and occasionally incredibly frustrating, because you could be the guy to just get ganked right at the start with 2 teams coming to own your ass for no apparent reason, just because you happen to be there. And so it can be quite annoying, but at the same time, it's that unpredictability that makes it interesting.
All it's doing is giving you a better chance. It's like if it was 1-on-1 and you were playing against someone who rushed you, you'd lose inevitably. Yeah. But if it's 2-on-2 and one of them is rushing, but they decide to attack your teammate first, then that gives you time. It's really just a compensation for you not being good at that part of the game.
But then when there's 8-player free-for-all, you can have your secret factions as well. You can team up with your friends, and then fight at the end. You team up, fighting, picking an enemy and fighting together.
The problem I have with RTSs is they teach you the wrong tactics in the main game.
Yeah. They teach you. The
majority of the time,
I just sit there while the AI throws shit at you, and it's never going to get in here because I've turtled.
Even when I've tried to play fast defense tactics or even rush tactics in the past, they've never frickin' worked, so I always end up sticking to my normal playstyle, which also doesn't work. It leaves me in this horrible feeling of, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And CNC3, to a point, seemed to get around that for me. I'm not really sure how it did it, but I didn't get that problem. Admittedly, I haven't spent a massive amount of time with it, but I didn't get that feeling like I have done with Generals, like I did with StarCraft pretty much every time I picked up the mouse. And, I don't know what it did that was different, but me and RTS, I'm not going to lie, I suck bad at it. But I don't know why, and that's the annoying bit.
Well, that's saying that you should play Ruse, because that one does have a good tutorial.
That's good.
Because it actually teaches you how to defend and how to attack.
Well, StarCraft 2 is supposed to be pretty good for
rather
the
than
single
just
player
building stuff.
teaching you sort of how to play the multiplayer.
That's why I've also heard, Zach, that StarCraft 2 single player is just really good and completely different to all other previous RTS single players. Just paradigm shift different, the difference between games before and after Half-Life, but for RTS rather than FPS.
It's because they finally made it so it's not you start from nothing, you build a base, and here's an enemy base that's occasionally going to send units at you.
And it happens to be
that's why
over there.
turtling is like the default tactic, because you're like, they've already got a base set up, but you know that they're not going to start sending units to you for a little while, so you better get some defenders.
Yeah, it's just that same pattern. I mean, they made it. I mean, the way they spiced it up in like Red Alert 2 was just to make it completely insane and crazy. But it was still the same, wasn't it? It was still the same Bay of a base over there. The only thing they could do to jazz it up was to make lasers and flying jetpack dudes.
And time control.
And time shift.
And Tesla everything.
Which, to be fair, kind of worked.
But it
kind of worked.
It worked okay in Red Alert 2 because sort of each level was based on one unit's abilities. It's
That's
like
true.
when you get to the multiplayer of Red Alert 2 where you just have access to everything. It's like, I don't know what to build. Everything's so fucked up.
It's just too crazy.
One of the great things about Red Alert 2 was the dogs. You can have an army of dogs killing infantry.
Well, that was the original Red Alert.
Or our dog tank.
Were they in 2? Or maybe they were in 2. Oh yeah, by editing the little ini files, you could give any gun to any
vehicle
unit,
and any unit. So we ended up making dog tanks. Because for some reason the act of a dog jumping to kill someone was treated like a bullet. So you could make tanks that would fire. Well, they'd be invisible dogs, basically. So you'd have tanks that would bark, and people around it would just die. It was brilliant.
It was pretty hilarious. So, where are we?
Flame boats. The most pointless thing ever.
You've been playing anything else, Zach? What are we doing? The Supreme Commander. We need to talk about the TF2 thing, probably, because
I guess we should. But then again, we can talk about that for literally ever.
Yeah.
That's true. But just snap judgment, what do you feel about people paying for hats? Pretty much.
Just
it would be okay
Seriously.
if it wasn't so insanely expensive.
It is crazy. You are literally
Who's going
talking
to pay
like £12
for a
certain
hat?
hats. In-game
No way.
aesthetic items. It's crazy.
It's really weird.
And
Is that
even
like
people on
determined
weapons,
by...
It's like a regular. It's like if you want, say, a flare gun. It's like if you don't have the flare gun through the achievements, it's still like 59p.
That's loads.
But this is the irritating thing. People are doing it.
People are paying
and
for it.
in quite large quantities, and I do not understand.
Well, it's whenever you see people in like the in-game chat channel trading for crates and then opening them immediately, which means every one of those crates that they've opened, that's £2. It's like, what the fuck?
Maybe they consider like buying a £12 hat. Maybe they don't think of it as buying a £12 hat. Maybe they think of it as a donate now button. You know. And they just happen to get...
if that was the case, maybe, there is a certain logic to that. Valve should get rewarded for what they've done.
Because we were talking
Team
about
Fortress,
the crazy value that Zach has got out, 1,000 hours for like £10 or something, or whatever Zach paid. So that's amazing. And then he's not under any obligation to spend any more money. So from that point of view, you know, Valve are clearly not evil. But on the other hand, this is very strange. Don't you think? I don't know.
It's like, it's okay to, like, give them some money.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
surely they'd get more if you just bought more stuff at a lower price.
Yeah, because everyone will buy everything.
Yeah, I'd buy loads of hats if they
don't say it, sell the idea, but just, like, donate to me and I'll give you this thing for free.
I don't know. It strikes me that having played some of this Halo Reach multiplayer with the armory and stuff, and the clear progress that you get towards like buying new items, it seems like a much more sensible system than all this crazy. Oh, it drops once in a blue moon, and you have to craft it, and then you could pay £12 for it. You know, it's just mental. You know, I don't know.
It's getting too complicated.
Well, there's really just even before they'd done every class's individual weapon update, it was just really too much. It's like
I get the feeling it's too much.
Kind of insane, where it was like, all these different goddamn weapons and choices, and I'm not so much annoyed by all the different weapons. It's like I wouldn't mind 9 classes worth of free weapons each, but the hats are just too much. I don't like all these goddamn hats. Maybe I'm the only person in the world who says this.
Yeah, I think you are.
It's like
I agree.
It's okay that are like some hats are fine, but there's really just too goddamn many of them now.
I don't
And
know.
some of them are getting a bit, off theme and totally ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't like that off-theme stuff. It's like the community design stuff. Some of it's really good, but I mean, if it goes a bit off-theme or whatever you call it, yeah, that kind of grates because the TF2 has such great art design, Originally, it has such a great look, and the whole point originally was that the character silhouettes were very carefully designed so that you could tell from a distance what class it was just by the shape of the outline. And if they all have a towering pillar of hats on top of them, then that kind of messes that whole thing up, doesn't it? I mean, it's not a problem for me because I know what a medic looks like or whatever. But and it's the same with all the new weapons and stuff. It's more like I know when I started playing TF2, it was really quite fun to get into. It had all that sort of, oh, don't worry, you died, but because that was the best you've done, with that weapon or whatever. It had all that sort of encouragement stuff, and it made you want to get into it. But now I just feel like if I was new to it now, I'd be pretty put off by all the learning curve would be much higher than when we started. It was the learning curve would have been much better, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like once they started introducing all these weirdly specific mechanics that are like only happen with a certain weapon, or it's like the because you have like the regular spy backstab or whatever, and now you have this new one where it's like because the backstab was just like the thing that never changed between all these other weapons. You can rely on the fact that if you got stabbed in the back, you'd die instantly, and then that would be that. But now you've got this weird other knife where it's like they backstab you, but then your body disappears and they instantly cloak into you, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? It's really hard to tell sometimes because you get stabbed, and when it snaps out into your death cam or whatever, you sort of see your own body disappearing.
Yourself.
And it's like there's a really sudden jerk, like more so than normal when you get backstabbed for some reason. I don't understand that. It's kind of weird. Also, that's probably hella overpowered. They need to fix that spy set. It's totally fucked up.
Oh, is it? Because it sounds
I don't
really
like the
hard to
concept
use.
of sets. The whole thing about the sets just seems mad to me. How you get extra bonuses for? I mean, in an RPG world, yes, but for competitive FPS, the set thing is that if you have like one of every item in every slot from a particular set,
well, not every
exists.
slot.
Well, that exists.
If you have the set.
Then you gain an extra bonus, which gives you an edge, basically.
Which is also added into the
immediate balance ruining
thing, where it's like, it's to encourage people to buy shit. It's like, you don't have the full set yet, buy the last thing. Don't wait. Get it now.
That's a shame. Because it decreases like your ability to improvise and like have whatever, customize how you play, doesn't it? Because it's like, I can't have this and this because you have to play...
You lose the set.
You lose the set. I mean, before this sets thing, we had that, as you were saying, Rob, with the charge and Targe and the Highlander.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't realise, but that was clearly a set before these sets existed, in that you had to use both, pretty much, because otherwise you're just crippled.
And you lose certain things.
And I think that's a shame. You should be able to mix and match however the hell you like to play the game. If you want to use the charge and Targe with the what is it, grenade launcher or sticky launcher? What do you get?
Stickies.
I don't know.
Yeah,
stickies.
Because if you have the shield, you don't get stickies.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, but I don't think it would bother me too much. But it's kind of annoying.
I'll admit, the idea is worse than how it feels. At the moment, it's actually okay, or at least it hasn't marred my experience of the game.
I don't know.
So maybe it's been very carefully thought out, but it worries me. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's okay. I wouldn't mind so much if some of them weren't so ridiculous. I haven't really noticed the sniper one, where if you have the set, you can't die from headshots. So it's like, firstly, it's like, what does that actually mean? It's like if you get shot in the head, you just end up on 1 health, or it's like if you get shot in the head, do you take less damage or something? It doesn't really.
I think you're right on that. If you get headshot, you get taken down to 1 on the first headshot, and then any subsequent will kill you.
Well, Well, I don't know, because it does specifically say you can't die from a headshot, so maybe even if you're on 1, you won't die from subsequent headshots. Not that you should survive long on 1 health anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the spy one, really, I just think some of these new things are just unbalanced. The spy one definitely needs changing. It's totally ridiculous. Because the set bonus for the spy one, if you get bumped while you're cloaked, it makes you visible for longer. But it's like 0.5 seconds, it's like, how noticeable is that? Don't really know. But then the bonus is like, your decloak sounds are quieter, except it's really like, very a lot quieter. It's like normal uncloaking is almost silent, and the dead ringer is quieter than the normal cloak would be. Which is insane, because dead ringer plus that set is just doom. Way too powerful.
I never liked... Well, I could never hear the fact that spies decloak anyway, so it doesn't make any difference to me.
Well, yeah, that's not a problem for you, apparently.
I don't know. I've only ever noticed that decloak sound, like the normal decloak sound, like twice in my entire time playing it. I don't get that one.
I haven't played TF2 for quite a while. Like, I don't know, a few months, I would say. Well, I maybe even 6 months. I don't know. How long has it been? Anyway, no, not that long. Anyway, but okay, 3 months at least. I haven't played TF2, and I have to admit, I'm completely lost. There's so many new stuff. It seems to me. I mean, I want to go in and like check out all the engineer update stuff, and now there's going to be all these millions of other new things that I'm going to have to learn. I mean, it's just gone crazy.
Yeah, except getting the poly count. If you're going for like the poly count or main economy stuff, then you don't have to get into that straight away. It's going to take a while.
Well, but it's
other people using that shit.
Yeah,
it's other people using that stuff. Yeah. It's not me buying it. I'm not worried about that. I probably won't even get the engineer stuff for a while because I have to get the achievements to get the unlocks. But it's just everyone else using it. You have to know how these things work. That's the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. At the moment, I haven't paid much attention to what each new weapon's special abilities are, and I'm not really, losing any enjoyment because of it.
Okay.
I'm figuring it out as I go. It's actually comes back into what we were saying earlier a little bit, and the figuring it out as I go along approach is actually all right.
Okay, fair enough. So you're not like dying and going, "What the hell? What was that?" And he's turned into me, and
okay. The spy knife is the one
out of nowhere.
The new spy knife is the one annoying thing, and yeah, the first game I played after the update, I did get Girati'd from miles away, and I was like, "How did that happen?" And
right, because it's the new sniper.
It's because it just uses the same effect. That's what I don't understand about that one. It's like, why did they not make it like sickness or something? Why did they just reuse Girati and then not even, make it obvious how it was different? It's just like, suddenly, Girati!
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. Because if it injected you with malaria or something, that would make sense. But like, a projectile that hits you and then, what does it, they look like syringes, don't they?
They're like little, dart things.
So how do they splash urine on you? What?
Yeah.
It's just, what? I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, some of the stylistic
the
stuff
fact that they didn't make a new effect for being covered in milk as well, for the Scout milk throw. It's just an icon on your HUD, so you can't even tell when you've been hit by it. And you can't tell when you're being buffed by the new soldier buff banner because your weapon doesn't glow, like with the regular one.
Oh,
I don't understand why they didn't do those things.
They need to take stock before they add new stuff and just, like, make everything...
Well, considering how long they spent fucking around with the actual, the balance or whatever for these polycount things before they released it, because the models had been finalized, and then there was like months before it actually came out. They don't seem to have done. They made the stats for them, but they don't seem to have done any, effects work or.
Well, they probably spent the whole time playtesting the stats and making sure they were balanced before, because that's ultimately more important to the enjoyment of the game than like the effects and stuff, isn't it?
Well, apart from the effects that you should.
Yeah,
milk,
that's true.
For example, it's like you can't even tell. An icon on the HUD is not sufficient.
No, okay.
No, the milk one is a bit crap. You'd expect it to sort of have a slightly lighter piss type haze or something.
Yeah. Also, apparently the milk doesn't wash off if you jump in water, which sounds like they've just forgotten to. Because piss washes off if you jump in water. but milk doesn't for some reason. Because they forgot to set that option
It's not
or something.
milk.
Well, it patently isn't milk because it says so in the item stats. It's labelled. It says it's like mad milk, and then the subtext says non-milk substance.
Yeah. Oh right, yeah.
Also, if you want to craft it, it's made of Girardi plus refined metal. So take from that what you will.
Bodily fluids with extra iron
filings. Take iron filings, mix them into piss, and somehow you get mad milk.
Yeah. So yeah, TFT. So I should probably move on to Rob. Actually, who's probably
ejaculate bombs.
We need to not talk about any more TFT.
What you been playing, Rob, my man? Anything exciting?
The most important thing on my list is probably Halo Reach multiplayer, which you've also been doing.
Yeah, I've been playing
before
that too,
I get
so
into that, I will. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about what should have been world-changing release of Sonic 4.
Oh yes, of course. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
So
I will be.
I played the demos.
Sorry, I was shifting my stance. You know, I had to get into the rant stance.
Into the serious role phase.
It's rant.
I are serious now. It's odd, is my impression of it. It's trying as I was trying to explain to Eddie earlier. My thoughts are it's almost trying too hard, and as a result, feels wrong. Like just the control of Sonic himself just doesn't feel right, and that's weird considering the game was made by both Sonic Team and Dimps, who in the past have made perfectly good Sonic games, right. And yet somehow they've changed the feel of the control, so it's not nice anymore. It feels cheapened and a bit tacky, you know. It's weird. The main thing that just struck me immediately was, apart from the widely reported slightly awkward walking animation and slow acceleration speeds, is the fact that you can stop in midair, right? Just by turning the stick around. The momentum of jumps seems to have gone completely. Like if you just. You jump to the right and then you flick the stick to the left, you pretty much stop immediately. Admittedly, your air control then is limited, but what? How can you do that? It's just wrong. Sonic doesn't handle like that. It's supposed to be kind of loose, fast, and mental, so if you go too fast, making a jump is difficult. Things like that. That was kind of the balance. You know, if you go too fast, you mess up your jumps. Yeah. If you go in some sections, and if you go too slow, you won't make the jump, things like that. Yeah. You'll have to go a longer route. They've got that wrong, and that's a fundamental mechanic of the Sonic handling.
I find myself stopping when I didn't really mean to, and I remember in the old games it was more like if I wanted to stop, it was hard to
stop,
which makes sense. At least you've got momentum, and it's like part of the challenge is keeping a grip on the supersonic hedgehog, you know. But now it's like. I don't know. Okay.
They've dumbed it down. Is how I'd say it. It's no longer the sort of, maybe it was a decision by the dev team or something to sort of say, what, we need to make this. We need
more
to give
accessible.
We need to get Sonic's mass appeal back. So let's make this a bit easier than it has been in the past. And in the process, they've pissed off everyone that's been looking forward to this. They've pissed me off. Let's put it that way. I've played the Sonic games that most people would have passed by. So
that's true. And you've given them a fair chance as well.
Yeah.
You sort of only really played 2006 fully because it was like a challenge to get through the shitness.
It really was.
Masochism.
It was a grind of heart. It was. It can't be that bad.
It's like you just wanted to see the next cutscene of terrible acting. And
the awkward hedgehog human romance, and basically how I could glitch the game beyond all recognition, which there were some fantastic bugs in that game. Like there's this ridiculous eventually you get this gem system that lets you like plug like coloured gems into your shoes for different abilities, all of which don't work very well. The funniest being the shrink one, which actually has no benefit at all on the main gameplay, other than the fact that you can glitch it and jump infinitely into the sky. So getting around some of the hub worlds becomes ridiculously easy. But
anyway, back to Sonic 4.
Sonic 2006. What a joke!
Are there any other characters you can use that got Sonic 4?
No, it is all Sonic all the time, which is beautiful.
In theory, good.
Although I love Tails.
If they hadn't fucked up Sonic,
I'll be honest. Tails and Knuckles could have made a return if they wanted them to, because they were always okay in the 2Ds.
Anything else?
That's
was
the problem
just
with
terrible
level design, where it's like, because with Tails and Knuckles, the climbing walls and flying ability, you have to do like a whole other pass on the layout of your levels and stuff.
That's true.
Well, playing as Tails was basically the easy option.
Yeah, you just fly.
Yeah, so it was, the inclusion of Tails for beginners is fine, but
you could find
Knuckles was a slightly harder core route, and generally,
and Sonic was normal.
And Sonic was the normal style, so yeah, it was fine. It all worked out. I don't have a problem with Tails and Knuckles living in Sonic games all the time. That's fine.
Else.
Yeah, anyone else, they'd have to have weird. They made Amy work on Sonic Advance, the first one, because she had slightly different mechanics, but it was still basically handled the same. She was a bit slower, so it forced you to take the different routes that required more platforming than speed, but that was okay. They were subtle about it. But yeah, my biggest problems are the controls, and the music. I found quite grating straight away. I mean, what the shit is with that theme tune? It's like quite literally da 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 da, and it's just like, that's super gay.
They should have gone the Mario route and go for the original themes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, just bring back the original Sonic theme, but funk it up a bit,
Well, because they already did that in like Sonic Advance 3, where they had like the Sunset Hill Zone, where it just basically had a remix of the Green Hill music, and that was awesome.
Really? It wasn't really that remixy.
Well, it was... Okay, it wasn't exactly a remix, it was like...
It had some similar sort of themes, yeah. What was it?
Well, it had the same tune.
Sunset Hill. You mean... There wasn't Sunset Hill, was it? There was Mushroom Island and Angel Island. Is that what you're thinking of, or...?
No, on Sonic Advance 3.
Oh, Sonic Advance. Sorry, I didn't play 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you wouldn't play it. Sorry, I thought you were saying Sonic 3.
I think some of the original musics were apparently made by that Richard Jacks guy, who's actually British.
But... Oh yeah. Who did some of the Jet Set Radio soundtrack?
He did some of the Jet Set Radio stuff. What's it like? Everybody Jump Around and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's not obviously involved in this, which is a real shame.
No, it's mostly composed by Jun Sunu, who has been a long-term Sonic composer. I think he's been there since Sonic 3, so he's no stranger to what Sonic should sound like.
But this isn't his best stuff, obviously.
By far, no. He's got some of the themes okay. For instance, the sort of menu music isn't that far off what Sonic should be, and actually the main level music again isn't far off, but it's just not as good as it has been before. It's not catchy. It's not something you take with you to the, take with you around, start humming it unknowingly.
For some reason, like you were going to say, take with you to the bathroom.
Oh yeah, I often take Hydro City to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there going, do-do-do-do.
Hydro City, lovely.
Good choice.
Only play that when you flush, obviously. Cheers for that.
Nice.
I played the trial of Sonic 4, and I wasn't really enjoying it, but I think it just kind of reminded me that I don't really like the Sonic games, I think. And it's not because I don't like Sonic as a character and I don't like the world and I like the idea of going fast compared to Mario's like ponderous plumbing adventures. But when it comes down to it, in 2D Sonic, I don't understand the appeal because I can't see where the fuck I'm going. I have no idea what I'm doing. I constantly feel like I'm completely out of control because I'm like, well, I can't see 10 feet ahead of me, and that was how it was originally. You know, you had to learn the levels, I suppose. But I mean, you guys loved it, obviously. But I just go, what the fuck's going on? Oh, I've just hit an enemy. Oh God, what the hell? I just don't enjoy that. I don't know. So
they missed an opportunity to get rid of some of the problems in that as well. In
because
you know,
they could have had
with the extra resolution, they could have zoomed out the view a little bit, or made it. In fact, even better than that, made it so it zoomed out the faster you went.
Yeah, or zoomed out and panned you across to the left or whatever if you were running to the right, for example.
Or they could have just
zoomed out.
made it.
They could have done some clever things.
They could have just made it like a physical button push, almost like a boost. Where like now you go into fast mode and it zooms out so you can see more.
Because I mean, if they made Sonic 2D Sonic a game that I want to play, that would be great. But it was just like, oh, I remember why I had such terrible trying to complete these games on the Game Gear, because I'm crap at them and I just don't enjoy them for those reasons. And it made me think, just in general, that like
why did they not
games?
They made it really hard as well because if you died, you had to start all over again.
Or from the last Star Post.
Yeah.
Or...
No, just like if you lost all your lives, you had to.
Oh, yeah, the proper hardcore, yeah.
But like
in Mario,
if you found them,
you died, but you had the option to continue.
You always had the option to continue.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why did they just not fucking... Why have they not realised that Sonic Rush is the way to go? They could have made an awesome Rush-like game on a full console.
Well, this is the weird thing. Sonic Team and Dimps have worked on Sonic 4, and Dimps were responsible for both Sonic Rush and Sonic Rush Adventure, which are, in terms of recent Sonic games, brilliant. I mean, that's probably not saying much, but they are fantastic for Sonic fans. They're pretty much as spot on as they can get. Why haven't they capitalised on it is a mystery to me. I'm actually, we're in the position here where Sonic 4 should have been great. However, I'm now actually quite a lot more excited about Sonic Colors than I was before, because I don't think Sonic 4 is that great. Sonic Colors DS, for instance, might actually be the new Rush.
So they're never going to make you feel like Sonic's never going to be good again, are they? No matter how many times things go wrong.
It's getting,
unless I make it.
It's getting to that point. Yeah, unless Eddie suddenly makes it in the game industry and basically makes a Sonic game to end all Sonic games. I mean, there are a lot of fan projects out there that have, none of them have ever got off the ground and been great. Let's be honest, but some of the fan projects have at least managed to get the Sonic handling engine correct, which is the fundamental thing they've got wrong in Sonic 4. If some guy in his bedroom can make a game feel like Sonic and Sega can't, there's something really wrong going on.
Speaks volumes about the people that designed the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've kind of missed the point here. The point was to get the Sonic fans back on board.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it.
I think they always try and choose the route to please all people.
Yeah.
Which never works.
Yeah.
You either please the newcomers or you please the...
Well, the other thing is that it's not really a true sequel anyway. It's more of a homage. It's
like...
It borrows too much from Sonic 2.
The whole idea of it is like, Robotnik, after you defeat him in the Death Egg, is so pissed off he goes back to all the places you've already been and fucks them up again. It's like, literally in the story, it just says that it's going to be exactly the same things, only slightly different.
Yeah, so you go to a casino zone that's the same as Sonic 2's casino zone.
It's called, Casino Street or something.
In pretty much every detail, it's the same. Splash Hill Zone, fine. You can get away with a Green Hill ripoff because Green Hill is iconic. It's the shiz. That's fine. But make the music cool. Change that. Do you know what I mean? It's too derivative. Apparently all the bosses, and this is going from apparently because I've only played the demo and I've managed to make all of these assumptions from the feel of the demo, which is a bad sign. That's all you really need from Sonic. If you don't grasp it straight away, then you know where it's going. But the bosses are apparently all derived from Sonic 2 bosses with a new twist. So it's again, they're not new, which is a bit frustrating.
I saw a little mini clip video which appeared to show, you know, the boss at the end of Sonic 2, like the big giant stompy robot thing, that just looks exactly the same in Sonic 4. I couldn't tell what was different about it, but it, you know, it looks like that weird,
the big robot
ridiculously circular robot.
Yeah, they're the same. I think some of the bosses are direct rip-offs, so I've heard.
Yeah. So at this point,
I
Sonic
think that's
Colors
the
might
main
be good.
theme of Sega 2D games. They're always ripping off itself.
Yeah. At the moment, anyway, very least.
Well,
I mean, up to Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles series, it was all brilliantly original, but they seem to have run out.
Well, Rush still managed to do something different with bosses and everything, with its
True.
weird
Yeah, with its
3D bosses and stuff.
2.5D bosses, that were quite cool. It actually showed off a bit of the DS's power, that it's more powerful than people expected, kind of thing. But it's I don't know. And it's far too expensive.
Yeah,
It should have been at the 800 Microsoft points or, £7 region at
Clearly
most.
now we know
Whereas
the quality of it.
Yeah, £10 and 1,200 points for 2/3 of a Sonic game that's not really a brand new Sonic game is just plain ripped central. I mean, think about it. Episodic games, 3 of them, and you've got a 12-zone Sonic game, which is about the equivalent of Sonic 3 and a bit, Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
I don't get episodic
kind of thing.
games.
Yeah, but you're in full price game territory there for something that is basically smacking a budget title price.
I mean, how
range.
much would be the
mad.
Sonic the Sega Mega Collection or whatever with all the Sonic games? How much would that be?
I saw it in town earlier, and it's selling at £18.
Yeah, so the Ultimate Mega Drive collection with like the Sonic, with all the Sonic games on it.
Whereas I was looking at one of the cheaper games, and one of them I saw was Bayonetta selling at £10.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I still need to play that. I forgot about that.
Yes, you do.
I really need to play that as well.
I think everybody's got that like sitting on their desk.
It's the game you can't quite bring yourself to play, but you know is good.
Yeah. Well, I've started it about 3 times, and each time I think, I'll start from the beginning again because I can't remember exactly how because it's beat 'em up, and it won't take me long to get. And I've played the same section about 3 times. I would have said. Anyway,
Starting games again is a terrible habit, especially when it's things like Final Fantasy. Because I've done that several times, where it's like, oh man, I'm never going to remember where I was in the story. Oh,
just start
over. Even though I've spent like 50 hours on this save.
Because Bayonetta, the story is so
main
completely
things about
insane that I don't really
RPGs.
want. I could skip every single sequence, and I wouldn't mind. I just wanted to remember all the button presses and everything, so that's why I was starting that one over again.
Yeah, no, Eddie brings up a good point there. It's like annoying RPGs are very frustrating for that sort of like I want to start over thing simply because it's hard to remember.
Well,
the game doesn't really give you many prompts at points about where you're supposed to go. And
one of the main things about RPGs in general is if the story doesn't captivate you to want to know the end, then it's not a good RPG. Like Final Fantasy 13, it's gotten to the points where, okay, this is tedious now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've been playing it, and it's more effort playing it than it is to enjoy playing it.
That's worrying.
Yeah.
It is on my list of things to get and try Final Fantasy 13 because it's a...
It looks pretty and everything, but the gameplay itself...
No, I'd never have enough time to play anyway. And I want to finish Lost Odyssey before I even attempt thinking about it.
It's been going a while, hasn't it?
Any of the other Final Fantasy games you might want to finish.
Well, Final Fantasy 7 is the best Final Fantasy because...
8.
No,
8.
8 is not better.
No,
8 is different.
No. Final Fantasy 7, you wanted to know how the story progressed. You wanted to know how it would end. Because
you could argue forever about that, though.
The trouble with
which
7
is the best.
sometimes was that it just had weird offshoots, though. Whereas, especially like the bit where you have to go to like the fake Japan and Yuppie's village or whatever, and that just seems like it's a hella diversion. You're just like, suddenly we have to go and do this now.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of even though I've never ever got very far in 7. Before tailing off, that's one of your signs of it not being that compelling.
Yeah.
I've never managed to get I don't think I've ever got past the first disc. I think my playthrough on the PSP at the moment
Did
is
you
the
get
furthest...
out of the first city?
Oh yeah.
Get out of
I think my playthrough on the PSP at the moment is the furthest I've ever got, and I haven't touched it in months.
Yeah.
And this is restarting again fairly recently, so it's again. It doesn't drive me through, and I do remember where I was at. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing at where I'm at, but because I couldn't figure it out when I was actually playing it properly. But
the thing about, I mean, a lot of times
I don't know. I loved 8's story. I loved 8's story precisely because the diversions didn't feel like diversions. They felt like they were still attached to the main story somehow. Whereas in 7, you're right, the diversions are completely fucking off the beaten track half the time.
Well, I don't mean
the
literal side quests. I mean, sometimes even in the main story, it's like you come to a place and it's like
hang on a sec, guys. Hang on,
because the story is happening.
Hang on, someone's making a clicking noise. Is that someone fiddling with something?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Yeah, don't do that. Carry on.
I was fidgeting.
It's like sometimes in Final Fantasy VII, you come to a place that's like, stop doing that.
Now the train comes.
And now a train. I'll just wait a minute here.
I love the professionalism.
Just get it out of your system, guys. Just
Yeah, okay.
Everybody, mash your keyboards now.
Bwada.
Okay, train is finished. That was a long one. Yeah, but
That's what she said.
okay, back to the point. Sometimes in Final Fantasy VII, you come to a place which is like the next stop on your main story or whatever, but it doesn't seem like you're doing anything important. It's just like, I have to maybe go and talk to this guy, and then there's a sequence. It's like when you first come to the Rocket Town where you find Sid or whatever. It seems totally irrelevant the first time you're there. It's like, oh look, it's a busted rocket.
Well, this is the bit I'm at the moment. Rocket Town. Yeah, exactly. Rocket Town is where I'm at the moment, and I can't figure out what to do to get the story to move on. I've been around it. I'm sure I've talked to everyone. I've been up the rocket, and it's just like, well, what do I do to get the story to move on? You go back to the map. There's nowhere else to fucking go, and it's just
yeah. It's just like, it seems totally irrelevant. I mean, obviously, Rocket Town is one example where later you come back there and it's like, holy shit, this is hella important now.
Yeah.
But it's like the first time you come to it when you don't know that, it's just like, how do I move on from this pointless place? I don't want to be here.
Yes, that's exactly where I am.
Yeah, it's definitely a peril, like restarting an RPG from the beginning because you've forgotten the story. But I mean, it does happen, doesn't it? But I don't know. Sometimes, like, I have to say that it was totally worth playing all the way through Mass Effect again just before Mass Effect 2 came out, because the reward is really good for knowing what's going on in the story and everything.
Absolutely. Mass Effect really does benefit from all the extra knowledge of the universe.
Do you think we're going to be playing through Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 when Mass Effect 3 comes out? Do you think? Or maybe
no.
just 2?
Mass Effect 2 doesn't have the same draw for replay for me compared to the first one. I played the first one twice, and 2 I don't really want to play again. I don't know why.
I started playing it again, but then that kind of...
I'd actually... a bit of me actually does want to play through 1 again, mainly so I can get a character into 2 for a second playthrough who's the woman, basically, just for a different take on it.
The woman is awesome. Always go woman.
Something.
To the Xbox?
Although it's not easy.
Okay.
So, you know, it would be probably too much hassle. You might as well just play Mass Effect 1 again.
Besides, there's the insane mode achievement to get.
Yeah, but then you won't finish it because it will be too annoying.
Yeah, and it'll be 30 hours worth of annoying, so yeah.
30 hours worth of constantly randomly dying, and then doing the dramatic fallover. Whoa.
Brow, 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 brow.
That's such a weird thing in Mass Effect. I don't know why.
It doesn't seem dramatic enough, does it? You just sort of fall over and it goes...
Yeah,
roll,
it never
roll,
looks natural.
roll.
You just kind of ragdoll retardedly onto the floor.
It's really weird. And of course, Mass Effect is harder in the beginning than it is at the end, of course, because you don't have all your stuff. So the first fight you get into, like in the bar on the Citadel, when you haven't got any weapons, if you've never done any combat before, it's quite easy to get killed.
takes
Like,
forever to kill those. Even they're just like grunts or whatever, the random like henchmen, and they just take forever because you can't fucking hit them with anything because you're so ridiculously inaccurate.
And the bar is like a weird circle shape.
Circle, so there's no cover.
Bow, 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 bow. It's just a pain. I mean, once you know, it's not that hard at all, but it's like the first combat really in the game, and you have no clue what to do, and you probably see that a few times. I don't know.
When I played through Mass Effect 1 again the last time, I very nearly failed on disarming the bombs on the first planet, because I forgot what they were, and it's like, oh shit, I actually have to remember.
No,
I only have a minute left, fuck!
I failed that twice, I think. I couldn't remember what they were.
It's like, oh shit, they're going to blow up this place. It's obviously critically important that you defuse these bombs, but we're not really going to tell you where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. That bit's
Yeah.
Anyway, right, we should probably get onto some reach before
How are we doing for time check?
We've got another half an hour or so.
Oh, sweet.
So
did you set it to 2:15? Like
I did, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
The overflow zone that we always use.
I should probably talk a little bit, because I've been playing Reach, and I played through the single player in Heroic, and I started on Legendary, but we didn't really have a chance to talk about kind of the full extent of the campaign, did we?
Well, yeah, it's worth going back to... It's worth going back to the point about Legendary, because you know when on my last report I was complaining that the difficulty curve seemed a bit uneven and things like that, and I still think when you start out it is a bit harsher than you anticipate, but then then you adapt to it and it's okay. Because now I'm playing on Legendary, I'm not actually finding it that much more difficult than the end of normal.
You play more carefully, don't you?
Yeah, you do it in a different style, but I'm not actually finding it as difficult as I was expecting. It's no Cairo Station from Halo 2. Let's put it that way.
It's no Cairo Station yet. I mean,
maybe it's actually all right. It's actually still enjoyable at the moment.
Have you got to the bit where you have to ride that helicopter? Because that looks like a modern warfare style, where it's like, because you can't move to avoid fire, you just die.
No, I think they make those bits easier relatively because they know about that problem. I think.
Because I saw Rob die at least once on that in Heroic.
Yeah, I did. I got blown up by something, and I didn't know what it was.
Okay, that might be bad.
I had to do the section again, but.
Yeah, but
that was pretty bad in Modern Warfare.
Yeah, that was bloody awful on that mission when you're flying into, generic Brown Town in a chopper, and you have to shoot all the trucks and stuff and guys with rocket launchers, because there's a very specific order in which to do it, and if you don't
the thing is,
you die.
The thing is, like, I discovered how to do that using I had to use a guide to figure out or whatever, and I cross-referenced multiple guides to try and work out, because I was so annoyed, because it's like no skill in that, it's just complete. And the thing is that the people shooting at you with RPGs on that level in Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare, like, depending on where you are looking, they will shoot. So if you keep looking to the right and then swing around quickly, you can get them. But if you are looking at them, they kill you. Now that is dumb. Oh, yeah. Anyway. So that was the only way I managed to do that. But
that's Call of Duty, basically done.
Call of Duty,
but...
yeah. So Halo Reach, I really enjoy the campaign. I think it's one of the best ones they've done, actually.
It's good to play. However, narrative, I'm going to stick to my guns on what I said last time. The narrative is a bit weak.
Well, they were always suffering from having this prequelitis of what's going to happen, and I think their main problem. They've set up
the whole setup for it's going to end badly is done very well.
That's
and the ending of the game, without spoiling it, is brilliant. To be fair, that really whole end section is fantastic. I don't want to talk about it because it's probably a bit too early since it's released. People will still be playing it. Blah.
Well, I guess one thing that I really like about not the narrative of Reach, but just the general, I don't know what you call it, atmosphere or something. I like that it's gone more hard sci-fi like the original and less fantasy. Like stuff like.
Definitely.
I mean, at the end, story-wise, there's a big plot revelation and stuff. But other than that, that Pillar Orton is going to take Master Chief to Halo because that's the start of the original game, right? So and you get to see the Pillar of Autumn take off, and that is so cool with the jets and everything. That's exactly. It doesn't just float into the air, because if you think in Halo 3, a giant capital frigate, UNSC,
just
flies
sort
down and just sort of
honks
hovers.
itself above your head for a bit. Yeah,
it doesn't even wobble. It just sort of sits there, like in exactly the same way that bricks don't. You know. And, sorry, that's a Douglas Adams joke there, but and that is just like, I just thought that was really silly. Whereas this, it just looks so cool, and there's little things like that all throughout, like the helicopters have blades on them and all that kind of stuff. I really like. And
I still wish they used the spirits more than than the phantoms, because spirits look cool.
I don't mind. I quite like that phantoms are back.
No. Spirits are the two-pronged dropships. Phantoms are the
it's the other way around.
The blobby ones.
Oh, I'm glad the spirits are back. Yeah, no, I don't mind that they use both though. It's all right.
Yeah, but the spirits kind of stopped being used after a while.
That's true. They were cool, but yeah. So the big revelation in the story, I didn't understand the first time around. Okay, now
it takes a little while to sink in, doesn't it? You sort of pick it up in the wrong way.
Yeah,
or at least, no, we shouldn't talk about this. Let's do this off air, because that's
okay.
It's a big thing.
But yeah, if you come to that point, then think about it a bit, because it's not quite what when I first came across it, I was like, I thought something that wasn't right, and I had to look it up online. And anyway, so just bear that in mind when you play Halo Reach Through. It's a bit of an odd twist there. Anyway, but
it does change the way you think about the entire series.
Well, it's supposed to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll
it's
talk
clever.
about that.
It's clever. Yeah. And I want to see if the legendary ending opens up even more. But
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Isn't there not meant to be a legendary ending? Someone said.
Maybe.
What, different? Might not be different.
They didn't do a legendary ending in Halo 2.
Right. Yeah. Well, there was one.
I don't think. I don't,
because we tried to think about that before.
Yeah, I don't think
complete the game and then talk about it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we've completed the game, but it's like we don't really want to talk about it so soon after release. It's a big thing.
So in terms of the gameplay, I think that weapons are fine, but the DMR is probably the most useful weapon ever in a Halo campaign. I'd
definitely.
Say. Pretty much, but I mean, it does. It almost makes the other weapons suffer in terms of variety, because you pretty much want the DMR at all times it's available, and you spend most of your time in legendary mode just wandering around trying to find the DMR ammo.
Yeah.
Because in the original game, the elite sort of tactic. Oh, I shouldn't say that because elites are enemies, but the tactic to use against elites was, of course, plasma pistol charge shot followed by pistol headshot, right? But now plasma pistol charge shot followed by DMR is even better than that. I mean,
well, no, the problem I have is that things dodge the plasma pistol shot too well.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying.
So it's almost worthless again.
Well, at least it has that slight homing effect, but and they're everywhere, of course, because you can pick them off grunts and stuff. But the DMR is so good. It's really good in multiplayer as well. It's the weapon of the game, and I really like that. Because to be honest, when I played the first Halo, I pretty much used the pistol the entire time through, and my old weapon was usually a plasma rifle. Now I barely use the plasma rifle at all. But
you barely see the actual main rifles is the thing, so they're actually quite rare now. Yeah. But the concussion rifle is a weird one. The one that the sort of heavy elites tend to carry, because it's really fucking annoying to fight against. But
it's really powerful against you and really weak to use.
Weak against, that was the point I was going to make. Yeah, it's weak against everyone else, which is really frustrating.
It's really strange, isn't it? Because like in Legendary, because it causes so much concussive effect that like if a shot lands near you, you get quite a lot of splash damage, and yet if you try and use it against them, then they just hold up so well. And it's really strange. But I don't mind because I just use the DMR. But,
yeah. Although, moving on to the multiplayer, the DMR is one of those weapons that basically highlights most of Halo's faults as an online game. And don't get me wrong, it's still fantastic, but all of the niggles from the previous games are still there. So things like you getting into what seems like a fair fight, or something a fight you've initiated first, you've landed every shot on the opponent's head, you're the one that dies.
Yeah, I know.
That still boggles my mind, because you've landed every shot perfectly, and somehow you've lost the fight on a straight one-on-one, and I don't understand how that's possible, so I can only possibly think it's got to be network issues, or something funny in the host-client relationship, something like that. I don't understand how that can occur, but it's fairly common. And the same goes for like beating contests. They can sometimes look very strange.
What if, hypothetically, there's two of you, there's an enemy there and you've both got DMRs, and you both see each other at the exact same time, you both start shooting at each other with the DMRs, and you're running towards each other, and then you touch and both melee at the same time, you both lose your shields, right? Yeah. That happens quite a lot. And then what do you do next? Do you go for another beat, or do you shoot them in the head? What's actually quicker? Because sometimes it seems one way is better, and sometimes it seems they get me with a second beat before I can shoot them in the head.
It depends what the other player does. If they back off, you've got to go for the shot. If they...
Right.
Because chances are you won't be able to... By the time you react, they'll be too far away to get a second beat in. But... It's not always the case. It's not always the case. Sometimes the second beat is your best option because you're too busy mashing around each other that getting the aim for a headshot just isn't...
It's hard, yeah.
Isn't appropriate, because a body shot will do fuck all at that stage.
Well, they've lost their shields, so you ought to be able to kill them with a body shot even, relatively.
Yeah, it still takes several body shots is the thing. Right. So by the time they get a single beat on you or a single headshot, you're down. So it's generally not a good idea to go for the shot if you don't think you can make the...
So after the beat...
If you don't think you can make the hit.
Should you circle strafe around them? Is that the next move? Or I was thinking
does work.
Maybe you could just sprint straight past them after that point and then be like, whoa, where'd he go? And then turn around.
I have done that, yeah.
Just jump.
I have...
Or jump, I don't know.
That would be funny.
Because it seems like
jumping does work as well, actually, because it takes them a little while. If they're right in your face, all they'll see is your feet, but another beat can still kill you at that stage.
Because I'm getting pretty okay. I'm pretty good on levels where there's lots of cover, and I use the sprint and the DMR. I'm pretty good at that, but like all the other stuff I'm still learning. Like when I'm playing Elite Slayer, for example, this guy... Because, of course, you start with plasma grenades, so there's so much more sticks in Elite Slayer. And what he'd do is he'd come up... It's just so annoying. Yeah,
okay. I think we missed something there, Dan. You dropped off. You probably recorded your end.
I was wondering what happened.
Sorry.
So it basically sounded like... So he comes up to me.
That's it.
So annoying.
Alright. Oh, well, you missed the whole tactic then. What he does is he sticks me with a plasma grenade and then immediately locks his armor so that the explosion doesn't harm him.
No, that's quite funny when that happens.
He was doing it over and over. He was a real bastard. I didn't know what to do because you can come out of that armor lock whenever you like, can't you? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to work out all the different crazy ass tactics because I'm pretty much choosing sprint every time at the moment. I don't know about you.
I'm trying to mix and match. I mean, when the beta was out, I played quite a lot with the active camo, but people are too wise to that now. It still works. Primarily on that level from the beta, on the sort of hillside, like the first area from the campaign, that sort
Power
of
station or whatever it's called.
Yeah, kind of. That active camo is still quite effective on that level, but everywhere else I'm struggling to use it. Hologram can be fun, actually. That actually does work quite well at confusing the enemy. If you just send it charging in front of you and you're hiding behind it, getting shots on the enemy, that's kind of cool. That does work quite well. But, yeah, armor lock is a difficult one to get right. It does have its uses, but it can be tough. I think I hear a cat from afar. Sorry, I'm going to let her in a moment. What else do you get? The jetpack is basically... It's almost a no-no, actually, the jetpack, personally, because it just makes you such a fucking target.
I think it really depends on the level, because there's some levels where it's really useful to be able to... Because people use it to fly around like idiots, but what they ought to be doing is going up to taking shortcuts to higher levels with it, rather than using it for a fighting thing. I mean, something like Sword Base, it's actually quite useful to get straight up to the top without without running all around and around and getting caught in the corridors, you know?
Yeah.
Because obviously being on high is an advantage. Not high in the air, flailing around like an idiot, but being on a nice sniping spot or
I
something.
mean, there are bits of Boneyard where it's very useful to be able to jetpack up to them rather than having to find the long-winded stair route, but...
Apparently there's a sniper depot on Boardwalk that you can only really get to using the jetpack or a grenade jump.
Possibly. I mean, the rifle spawns in a place you can walk to, but it's...
Yeah, it does, but you have to grab it and then go up to the sniper deck, I think.
Okay.
So if you're getting killed that way, just watch out.
A lot of areas in the game like that you can only access with the jetpack are usually classed as out of battlefield.
That's true,
but maybe there's one they missed. Oh,
I don't know. I think that one might be intentional, but anyway.
More worrying though is and this comes back to the whole Game of the Year and DLC discussion, and the classic DLC discussion is the fact that there's a map pack due for release in about 2 weeks' time.
Well, I think it needs more maps, to be honest.
It does need more maps.
They should probably have been in the game, but...
But yeah, we're talking less than a month after release, and there's a map pack, and it's...
On the other hand, though...
That's a bit cheeky.
On the other hand, though, the game...
Too. Yeah, it's just not right. I don't agree with that at all. They should have been in the original game. I mean, it wouldn't have hurt Halo to have been released a little bit later.
Yeah, I think
to make more room for the maps.
I think Reach as a package is pretty good value if you just take what's on the disc. I mean,
yeah, but I feel the experience is cheapened mainly because all the multiplayer levels, or most of the multiplayer levels, appear in the single player. You know, they just ripped straight out of that rather than being the custom built maps that they are usually. They're taken from areas in the...
I think no, because when you're playing the single player...
There's a bit of both, because some of the single player bits, they have all this extraneous areas you can explore, like when you find Boardwalk, for instance, for the first time.
Yeah, that's because that really confused you, didn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of place to walk around, and none of it is relevant, and because it's the multiplayer level. But
the same thing happened to me. You might not have noticed this, but the same thing can happen if you take a wrong turn on that, the base where you launch from the fighter, because you're supposed to just go straight in and into the fighter, but that whole multiplayer level that's around the launch is there. And I was doing the same thing you were, as in looking around all these places trying to find a med kit that wasn't there. Because, of course, the start of that new Alexandra level, you are on low health, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I just happened to be on low health because that bloody elite in the corridor just before you get to the fighter had taken me down a peg or two. So I was looking around all these crazy areas trying to find the health, which naturally wasn't there. So there's ups and downs with that. But it's kind of cool that every single...
some of the... Yeah, I know, there's ups and downs, but it feels a bit annoying when like one of the last areas of the game, of the campaign, is an invasion map, for instance, and it's like...
that's true.
What
I mean, like the dockyard sort of thing.
Yeah, I've played this a couple of times already. It's kind of lessened the impact of this area now.
That's true. I definitely played the...
And I'd played Boneyard, which is near the end of the game, from the beta and stuff like that. It lessened the impact of those areas for me.
That makes sense.
It's irritating. I don't like it. If they're making multiplayer maps, they should... Personally, I think they should be...
Yeah.
Explicit and completely separate from the single player, because they're not designed to purpose. There's a sort of a double-edged sword, because in a way, some of those stupidly expansive areas, because they're multiplayer levels, gives the world a bit more of a real feel, because you can walk around areas that aren't particularly relevant to what you should be doing, and it kind of means, well, maybe this environment isn't just designed to guide me through the story. Yeah, but there must be
a point to doing that.
Yeah, it would be nice if there was more stuff to find, just...
I don't know. I know what you're saying, but there's a clear delineation from areas of level that aren't like that and areas that are, and suddenly you realise you're in one. It feels a bit odd. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
it's
not
strange.
A consistent style. Yeah.
Yeah. It is strange.
Oh man.
Still, more levels aren't a bad thing, but they need to be cheap, and there needs to be a lot of them in the pack.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
It can't be like a Call of Duty pack where there's like 3 maps or something for a tenner. That's fucking ridiculous. But
none of that stimulus package nonsense.
Yeah. And there's always the slight problem with integrating the new maps into the playlists anyway that Bungie have. They often have to make special DLC playlists that only people with the DLC can go into that often have fewer players for a while, and they're kind of the elite lists. But then even then they're weird because they only use stuff from the DLC. They don't use the entire playlist set until quite late in the game's life cycle. So it's, I don't know, it messes up the playlists a little bit. Even in Halo 3, you still have to select. There's a delineation between, well, not delineation, but a separation between DLC playlists and non-DLC playlists. They're not integrated in a seamless way, and it's segregating players, which is precisely what you don't want to do. I mean, Halo 2 got around that problem by making the map packs free after 6 or 7 months. So after the main DLC zone, the main sort of hit zone where all the hardcore players would have bought it anyway, like I did, everyone else could just go, it's free now, have it. And that keeps the multiplayer alive.
That's true, that's good. I mean, because the people who bought it aren't necessarily going to be pissed off because they're going to get the reward of having more players in there to play.
Oh, absolutely, at least. Absolutely. But, early adopters aren't going to have too much of a problem. I mean, it's Halo,
I
but
don't think so.
It's still discouraged. It's still, even for those people buying it, it's still a little awkward because of that separation. What if you wanted to play Rocket Race on some of the new maps, for instance, and they hadn't updated the playlist to use the new maps to play Rocket Race? Little things.
Well,
little things.
To be fair, they were pretty quick on the uptake of when the game launched. They were fairly quick to fix those things.
Oh yeah,
it
was like two weeks.
What was it?
1 or 2 weeks after launch or something. They did a playlist update to fix holes and game types that people didn't like, and add
they
some
got rid of
missions
that,
like Rocket Race, and
they got rid of that SWAT on Blood Gulch or whatever it's called.
Yeah, thank God, because that was awful.
Speaking of which, I had a go on SWAT, and I think it just reminded me of why I wouldn't really want to play Call of Duty or something multiplayer. Because
it's a frustrating experience, isn't it?
The lethality where you just die the moment you see someone. I can kind of understand why people like that Twitch thing, but it just really irritates me. I much prefer Slayer DMR, where you have the same gun, but you still have the shields and you have grenades. I mean, it's so much more fun for me, but I mean, I suppose it's... And also, I noticed that the people playing SWAT were just better, I think.
I used to like SWAT because it was kind of a... it was a bit of a novelty, I think, when it first turned up, when we first started making those game types in Halo 2, and then it became mainstream in Halo 3. But it was kind of... Yeah, as I say, the lethality, as you described, outside of Counter-Strike, was kind of new. And it felt good, but now Call of Duty has basically bastardized it beyond all fun. It's it's no longer that appealing.
I don't understand why so many people like that so much. I mean, Counter-Strike was hugely successful, and Call of Duty, and that lethality level thing for me really puts me off. I mean, maybe it's obviously just...
Maybe it's the hardcore game thing.
There is a certain elitism to it.
But that doesn't mean that if you're... I mean, because there's more luck, sort of, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it seems like...
Situational, situational luck, just like, oh, I happen to be behind this dude, or this guy hasn't noticed me, he, kind of stuff. I don't know,
cause,
and
the
just
drama...
because of the way people move about
or
the levels.
People who are interested in war games, generally.
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, Call of Duty probably has that kind of military interest category box ticked. But...
we were just talking about that. Or if you're fighting each other with DMRs and one turns left and one turns right and one beats and one decides to back away and stuff. That stuff is the fun stuff. You're having a battle of wills with somebody else that you've met or whatever. In Call of Duty, that wouldn't happen because it'd be over in half a second. None of that fun is there. None of that combat is there. It's all
Whoever got their knife out first would win.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand why people like it so much. I mean, I don't know.
It is quite. I did play Modern Warfare 1 quite a lot. I mean, I have delved into that a reasonable amount, and it is intriguing. And the level up system does put its hooks in you quite deep. It's pretty cool, but at the same time, it still doesn't get over the fact that the game can be one of the most frustrating multiplayer experiences ever created.
Yeah,
it's
Well, it's one of those games
when it's brilliant, it's brilliant. When it's bad, it is quite possibly the worst thing I've ever played.
The worst thing ever, yeah.
It's not because it's out of design, just out of the frustrating and the feeling it gives me. It's horrible. I don't like it. It puts me into that state where I'm so angry, I don't want to stop because I don't believe it could be that bad. You know,
it could be, yeah. That's when
you sort of get into that sort of false sense of the wrong mindset where it's like, seriously, I can't be this shit at this game, and you're not. You really aren't that bad at it most of the time. It's just you have no control over your own life.
And when you get that angry, you just get worse, don't you? Because you
and then this is the point. I haven't played it since the last time I played because I did have one of those experiences, and I've just not touched it since because you look on it and you think, why did I play it?
Why this is just not worth introducing this stress into my life. This isn't entertaining me, you know. I think in a way it's kind of a miracle for someone like me who's not very confrontational in general. Well, none of us are. Like Zach's not confrontational, that we do enjoy killing each other, you know, in a competitive way. And I think it's a testament to what
paintballing, isn't it?
to what Team Fortress 2
Quasar.
But I think it's a testament to what Team Fortress 2 and Halo and the design of these games has done, really, to make it fun to do that. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, it's a point of view.
I guess I don't like it as much on the consoles, though. I need accuracy, mouse and keyboard.
You used to be a Halo player.
Well, yeah, but that was back then. It didn't seem so much as the way it is now. In like where you know those things that happen, where you're like, what the fuck? How did I not win this fight? Or like when it's things that really shouldn't be, like when you're playing SWAT and because someone is just jumping around like a tard, it makes them impossible to hit. It's like that really should not be allowed.
I think that's me in general. I can't aim for shit, so I just jump to avoid being hit.
You know,
because it's so effective in Halo. Because when you're playing in SWAT, it's like because you're aiming at head height or whatever. But because in Halo you can jump so ridiculously high and you spend so long in the air. It's like having to aim at a moving target for that long with the joystick.
You know, we're talking about the controls and the fact that I wanted to put zoom in on B, and Zach, you were saying, but then you'd move your hand away from your thumb away from the looking control when you were. I realised that when I play Halo, and even when because it's not on B, it's on right bumper, but I realised how much aiming I do with the movement control rather than the looking control. I
you strafe into view.
Yeah, I strafe into, like, I aim up the reticle vaguely, and then I strafe into view, like, to actually shoot. I do it all the time.
Well, it has been said it has been said by some people at some point, even for Team Fortress, that, like, it's supposedly a sort of a scout technique that instead of trying to aim at where you're shooting, you should just aim and then strafe across them and fire when they pass through your reticle.
That's what I do in Halo. I don't know. It just occurred to me that that's why it hasn't been such a handicap to move my thumb away from the looking, because I'm actually doing aiming with the movement button. Anyway, never mind. So yes, we covered everyone. I've got a couple more games that I played. Very minor. Let's see. About 10 minutes. Something like that.
Okay then.
Hang on.
It didn't even require Mexican Dan.
Mexican Dan. We're 2 hours and 2 minutes.
What's this Mexican Dan I've been hearing?
Oh, this is when we in one of the earlier podcasts we had to do time checks because I was sat with my laptop, but the system handling the recording was across the room. So in order to do a time check, I could either just sort of squint at it from afar or get up and have a look. And then, of course, I'd have to shout back at the microphone what the time was. So I'd be across the room going, 10 minutes! Or something. And for some reason, that was like Studio Rob or whatever. So that was, it had to be a different Rob. So you might as well be Mexican. So...
Obviously, this is how the insanity works.
So there's always a method to the insanity.
It's my studio partner, Fernando.
Hey, you know how much I like Peggle on the iPhone? Peggle Nights has come to the iPhone. Hurrah!
Oh, finally.
Yeah, and it's come and even nicer, it's come as an in-app update, so it combines the games into one. So it's not two apps, it's one. And when when you go to quick play and press I want a random level, which has now moved to the top, which is good, so you don't have to scroll down to press the button to select a random level. It chooses a random level from both games, so all the levels are included from Night
That's
Sands,
cool.
the original. And it's really good. It's more Peggle. I mean, they haven't. It's got a nice, different, darker style or whatever because it's knights or whatever, and the little characters have their comedy knights versions of them. And there's one new character who's kind of interesting. It's like a squid thing, and anyone who's played this, because Peggle Knights has obviously been out forever, but not on the iPhone. But the squid thing is like you shoot it, and then if it hits a peg, then it fires an electro bolt from that point down to the bucket and lights up everything between the bucket and the peg that you've hit, or whatever. So, if that makes sense. So that's
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I'd like
pretty
to recommend 2 iPhone app games.
Do so.
Okay.
First one is Cut the Rope.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I think we've mentioned Cut the Rope before, I think, because that's the entire point in the game. But is making a bucket load of money.
Yes, and it's really, really good. I've completed it. And
So hang on, Cut the Rope is different from You Have to Burn the Rope, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's it. We were talking about you
Yeah,
have to burn the
that's
rope.
a-
I
that's
think it's a
different
similar
thing.
theory.
Is it?
But
I've only played Cut the Rope because it was recommended, and
yeah,
it's really good. It's one of those games you expect to play like on Newgrounds or something like that, where it's just a puzzle game that doesn't really take that much time to play, but it takes a bit of thinking to go through each level.
oh, I
Yeah.
totally started playing Plants vs Zombies after your recommendation.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
What do you...
it is pretty awesome. It does get a
Yeah.
touch repetitive, I'll be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
but it's pretty cool. It helped get me through a 14-hour flight, so that was fine.
Oh, that's worth it then, isn't it? It's worth it.
One
I
of the
I played Bit Trip Beat as well on the iPhone. That's another.
Oh
rather
yeah.
iPhone thing.
That's kind of cool. Actually, I
Actually
did pick
bought
that
that.
up in the end.
It's really freaking hard to do with the tilt control.
Bloody
I'm not very-
difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bloody nightmare. I cannot do it. I mean, it's a really cool idea, but it's just so fucking hard.
I haven't done. I got through the first level, but can't do the second. Just gets
I don't
too
think-
fucking hard.
I think I've got through the first one. What was your other recommendation, Eddie?
Yeah.
Train Yard.
Train
Oh,
Yard.
This is great because this is another Reddit story because no one had bought this game apart from people in Italy who had stumbled across it or something.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Hey, Reddit, like, what my game is more awesome than Angry Birds. Why isn't it selling as well?" And they're like, "Okay, we'll buy it." And now it's like number 2 or something or number 3 on the paid apps.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really hard, and it's much, much harder than any puzzle game I've played in a long, long time.
The
So
guy
for
who's
that
made
reason,
it
it's
says
addictive because you
Because
actually will struggle with it. And
yeah,
Interesting.
he says he feels like he's won the lottery, but as if you had to work really, really hard to buy a lottery ticket.
hey, maybe he was the £113 million winner.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did anyone win Euro Millions?
Yeah, but no one's claimed it.
Bastards.
Lol.
Can I just claim it at this
Well,
stage?
you kind of need a ticket.
Is it like the Lost and Found? That it's been there long enough that I can just have it. But
No, they have 90 days to claim it. If they don't claim it, it goes to the charity.
yeah, it's fair enough.
I played the demo of Enslaved. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh yeah, we were
yeah.
talking. Me and Eddie were talking amongst ourselves about this earlier. I was originally, this was off my radar. Didn't care until I watched the review and on game trailers, and I'm actually really intrigued about this now.
What they've done,
I-
of course, just as I was talking about last time, they have done what I asked, which is copy that
Uncharted.
copy Uncharted's performance capture, and not only that, who better to use for that technology as an actor than Andy Serkis,
The
Yeah.
freaking Gollum, baby.
the master.
King Kong.
Yeah, and King Kong.
Cannot go wrong. So I'm
Ultimate
glad.
Monkey.
I said
the master
I said,
of mocap is finally in a video game and doing a damn good job by the look of it.
I said, industry copy this, and they've started copying it, and they better keep going. But I mean,
Oh yeah, because it was all you, Dan.
oh yeah, it was. No, I'm glad. I'm so glad because sometimes these things like Deus Ex, it's just brilliant ideas, and they just get left and never return. Need to
Time check.
Sudden
Right.
breaking news just before the end.
Oh, yes.
There was random
Yeah.
activity on my computer, so I looked at Steam because it was updating. And there's been the second Team Fortress 2 update today.
Yeah.
Apparently there was one earlier today that I didn't notice, which fixed the... They managed to put back in the exploit that lets engineers build infinite sentries. and build mini level 3 sentries using the Wrangler.
Oh, cool.
So that was the update earlier. It was like, fix the sentry gun exploit and let engineers build normal sentries. And then the one that's just been downloaded again says, fixed another sentry gun exploit that let engineers build normal sentries. And then the second note, the only other note in this patch, fixed engineers being able to build level 3 mini sentries using the Wrangler for real this time.
For reals this time.
So it's like, well done. You're
Did they
still
just
good at
forget?
patching, apparently.
Did they just forget to change the flag that said "Do patch now, please"?
Seems like it. It's basically exactly the same patch.
Some nice snap breaking news there.
Yep. It's not like they hadn't already fixed both those exploits once before. This is basically the third time they fixed those two things.
Well, they've not been that reliable on their exploit fixes, have they?
No, I guess not. They get their revenge. Let's hope this
It
time
just takes them a few times.
Anyway, time check, because it must be the
Time
end.
check. Okay, hold on. Let me just get...
Go Mexican Dan. Man, that really was Mexican. that
was more like Australian, Dan.
was
Sorry, was that
so
too-
Mexican I couldn't get it.
Too far away, was it? 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. It's more than I thought.
I was talking to
Alright.
Rob earlier about the Uncharted movie.
Oh, Nathan Fillion, right? Talking on
Shit,
his
yeah.
Twitter and saying,
I would love Nathan Fillion to be Nathan
Yeah.
Drake.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, that would be great. I don't know if it'll get financed, but that would be good.
How?
Well, the person who's directing it is the person who directed Three Kings.
Stupid question. Why can't they just get Nolan North to do it?
He doesn't look
Because
right.
he doesn't look like Nathan.
Or does he not?
No,
He's
he looks
like-
nothing like it.
He's like podgy.
The
and
only
stuff as
person
well.
that looks similar to
He
the
doesn't-
character is the person who does Elena Fisher.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah.
But Nolan North doesn't look like an action hero, so he'd be no good for the role. Do you see
He just
what I
needs to be
mean?
Donut
That's the
Drake.
trouble.
But Nathan Fillion's got the. I think Nathan Fillion's got the personality to play
Yeah, he's got the
Drake.
attitude
True.
from like,
Yeah.
all the roles
He's
he's
like-
played.
Yeah.
Like obviously,
He
Mal
just
Reynolds
needs to, yeah, as I say, just needs to bring Mal to the table and
Yeah.
it's sorted.
yeah.
And also, he needs to beef up.
Yeah.
Because I've been watching his
unfathomable.
TV show Castle, and he's let himself go.
Oh, he'll beef up. He beefed up for Captain Hammer. Lol.
Yeah.
He probably didn't. But there you go. The hammer is my penis. Anyway. Oh, look at my wrist. I've got to go. I love Dr. Horrible's amazing.
That was fantastic. There's a sequel coming.
Oh, really sweet.
Yeah. Dr. Horrible 2.
With Felicia
Oh,
Day.
yeah. I don't know.
Oh,
if
I've been watching The Guild some more. It's
Oh
still
yeah,
brilliant.
I've watched the first episode of this third series.
It's still brilliant.
Yeah,
It's got Will Wheaton in it.
Oh, Will Wheaton gets lucky.
and it's you can see how good it's gotten because how much popularity it's gotten because they've got a bigger budget now.
Yeah, the budget goes
Oh,
up each
cool.
time. Oh, and Vork's got his own comedy show now. His own web comedy
Really?
show, which is worth watching. It's called like the 15-minute hour show or something.
Oh, man. Will Wheaton is awesome. He has his own website and he's like all in geek culture all the time. He's always turning up at PAX and like doing all these crazy things. Oh, I've nearly finished watching all of Star Trek The Next Generation. Oh, so good. Well, I skipped the first 2 seasons, but I don't think they count. Before Will
So
Riker,
you haven't
without-
actually finished watching all of it.
they don't count. Will Riker should not have a beard. He should always have a
No,
beard.
that's true. He
It's
needs a
not
beard.
right. When he doesn't have a beard, that doesn't count as Star Trek The Next Generation, I don't
Yeah, but
think.
have you
So,
had any tea, Earl
I kind
Grey?
of agree.
plenty of TL Grey Heart, yes. Oh, but there's so much of it. There's 25 episodes in a season, and there's 7 seasons. So check it out. That is a lot of Star Trek.
7 ones where he has a beard, or 7 in total.
No, I guess there's 5 where he has a beard.
Okay.
But there's no point
Just
watching
wanted
the
to clear
early
my mind.
ones. Like, they're too silly and I don't know. Oh, nearly at the end. I'm really looking forward to the finale. All good things must come to an end, including this podcast. Thank you for joining us. We now have less than a minute. We're running out of time. So, I want to thank Rob and Zach and Eddie once again for joining me. And
Hopefully this recorded properly.
Hopefully this recorded properly. If it didn't, then we're going to be in real poop.
Otherwise, this has been an epic waste of time.
An epic waste of time. Well, it looks all right. Well, it looks all right from here. So, with any luck, 20
thanks
seconds.
for having me on the show again.
Oh, you're welcome.
Pleasure. We need sports and PlayStation players.
Yeah, we do. You provide for us.
I'd bring something different to the table, I think.
Indeed.
10, 9, 8.
Don't just count out the numbers.
I'm going to.
Last stop.
Worst ending ever.
Goodbye.
Worst ending